Chapter 2464. This card world was as big as half a world, and Zhao Fu would definitely obtain it. As for that kingdom, he would definitely defeat it. However, Zhao Fu had only just entered the card world, and Qin's army had not entered yet, so there would not be such a large-scale battle. A kingdom was not that easy to destroy, and Qin would destroy it later. Following this, there was information about the Lock Kingdom. The Lock Kingdom was at the edge of the central domain, and there were many kingdoms nearby, about 30 or so in total. However, the largest kingdom was only a dukedom kingdom, which was a kingdom that occupied an entire world. The smallest kingdom was a marquisate kingdom, and it was almost impossible for a barony kingdom to exist here. This was because this was the central domain of the card world, and most of its soldiers were stage 2. Barony kingdoms were so weak that they did not even have the power to protect themselves here. Zhao Fu looked at these kingdoms' information and found that there were 5 kingdoms around the Lock Kingdom. The largest was the Thunder Kingdom, which was to the east of the Lock Kingdom. To the north was the Kaku Kingdom, which was ranked second, and to the south was the Little Demon Kingdom. To the northwest and southwest were the Dori Kingdom and Yushui Kingdom. Qin's soldiers would definitely enter the card world to participate in the battle, and they could not just stay in Qin's world. After looking at this information, Zhao Fu started to think about which kingdom to attack. These kingdoms were not prepared at all, and Qin's sudden attack would be quite effective. Perhaps they would be able to instantly destroy the other side and end the battle as quickly as possible. After thinking about it, Zhao Fu felt that the Thunder Kingdom was a suitable target. Firstly, it had just been defeated by the Lock Kingdom, and not only had it lost many soldiers, but its morale was also quite low. Secondly, it was the most powerful kingdom around the Lock Kingdom, and it was the most threatening kingdom. Getting rid of it would also deal a blow to the morale of the surrounding kingdoms. Zhao Fu looked at Hilary in his arms and smiled as he said, "I'm going back to the Heaven Awakened world and might only be back in a few days." Hilary felt quite reluctant and said, "Why are you going back to the Heaven Awakened world?" Zhao Fu smiled as he replied, I've been here for almost a week, and Qin is still waiting for me. This time, I'm going to lead my army into the card world." Hilary understood that Zhao Fu entering the card world was quite important, and she felt a bit disappointed as she said, "We will wait for you at the palace." Seeing her disappointed look, Zhao Fu lifted her chin and said with a smile, "When we come back, I will accompany you." A smile appeared on Hilary's face. At that moment a guard nervously reported, "Your Majesty, things are bad. People from the Heaven Awakened world have appeared in the Dorian Kingdom's territory, and they are incredibly powerful. The Dorian Kingdom has sent people to ask for reinforcements." Zhao Fu looked quite confused. He had never thought that such a thing would happen. Why had a Heaven Awakened world faction suddenly appeared here? Hilary and the other knights fixed their eyes on Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu thought for a moment and said, "Let's go and see what happened." Hilary smiled and said, "N." Following this, Zhao Fu and the others flew west and came to a place in the sky. There was a massive army ahead. They were all 3 meters tall and looked like humans. They were well built and had large feet and tails. Their bodies seemed to be made of mud, and they gave off powerful earth attribute auras. They were most likely from the Heaven Awakened world's spirit race. Apart from Zhao Fu and Hilary, there were also many experts from other kingdoms. After all, they were from the Heaven Awakened world, and the 2 worlds were currently at war. Seeing that the Heaven Awakened world's people were all quite powerful, they did not dare to be careless. They understood that they would soon attack the card world's faction. Looking at the spirit race people in the distance, Hilary said in surprise, "Why do they look so different from you? They look so ugly. Is everyone in the Heaven Awakened world like this?" Zhao Fu could not help but laugh as he said, "The Heaven Awakened world is different from the card world. Our world is made up of all sorts of races, and there might be tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of races." Hilary looked quite shocked as she said, "Your world has so many races?" "Even though there are other races in the card world, the card race is the master of the card world." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "Every world's laws are different. For example, the outer world on the other side of the Heaven Awaken world is dominated by insects and beasts, while the Gold Refiner world is dominated by the Gold Refiner race." Hilary smiled as she said, "I also want to go to Qin City with you to see the Heaven Awaken world." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "You can come with me later." Melissa and the other female knights had always treated Hilary as their leader, but they also treated Zhao Fu as their man. They looked at the expectant Zhao Fu and said, "We also want to see what kind of kingdom Qin City is." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded as he looked at the spirit race soldiers in front of him. The spirit race soldiers had a large army guarding outside, and a portion of them were building walls. They did not rashly attack the card world, and they planned to build a base before doing anything else. This was the middle region of the card world, and most of the factions here were royal kingdoms. Without detailed information, no faction dared to directly attack. Only an empire would have the right to do as they pleased here. However, empire-level factions were directly sent to the center of the card world and could not appear here. There were roughly 3 billion soldiers in the army, and they were all Stage 2 soldiers. Zhao Fu felt that this was most likely a royal kingdom-level faction. Zhao Fu frowned as he said, "This place already has Qin City, and now another royal kingdom has appeared. This is not a good thing for Qin City, as it will have one more competitor. Moreover, the Heaven Awaken world strictly forbids us from attacking them or doing anything to harm them. The Heaven Awaken world forbids infighting, and everyone is united against those from the outside world. Even empires do not dare to violate this, as with how terrifying the Heaven Awaken world's consciousness is, it can easily wipe out an empire's people without any resistance. Looks like we need to change our plans." Within the depths of the Mudtail army, some Mudtail experts looked at the card race experts in the distance and felt quite relaxed. They did not see any terrifying experts. A tall Mudtail person smiled confidently as he said, "The factions in this region are quite weak, and the card race is not as powerful as the gold refining race. We can sweep through them and show them how powerful the Heaven Awaken world is." An old soil-tail person at the side said with a solemn expression, "Don't be careless. The car race expert standing in your direction might not be emitting any powerful aura, but he gives me an extremely dangerous feeling. He can easily defeat me." Everyone felt quite startled. Chapter 2465. The elder in front of them was one of the most powerful experts in the Mudtail people, and his strength had reached the Emperor Heaven realm. For him to say such a thing, it meant that the other party was incredibly terrifying. Everyone followed the elder's gaze and saw a cloaked figure and a group of female knights standing in the sky. Everyone's gazes fell on Zhao Fu's body, feeling quite uncertain. The tall Mudtail person asked, "Is that person from the card race really that terrifying? I feel that he looks so ordinary." The elder nodded seriously. "You can't sense how terrifying he is just by using ordinary power. You need to sense it with your consciousness, and you'll find just how powerful the terrifying aura he gives off is." Hearing this, everyone used their consciousness to sense it. Some people felt that it was quite ordinary, but a few people's expressions became quite unsightly as they cried out, "This person is so powerful." Those who had not sensed it felt quite shocked and understood that the elder was not lying. Perhaps it was because they were too weak that they had not sensed it. The tall Mudtail person felt quite scared. He had wanted to run over and challenge the cloaked figure to see how powerful he was. Looking at the others, he felt that they were also quite powerful. If he had gone over just then, he definitely would not have been able to come back. Everyone did not dare to be careless and did not look down on these card world factions. They planned to stabilize their factions step by step. What they did not know was that the expert from the card world they had sensed was not someone from the card world, but someone from the heaven-awakened world like them. They were just scaring themselves. Zhao Fu stood in the sky and observed the mud-tail people. He found that even though they were quite slow, their defenses were not weak and they had great destructive power. They were a powerful race. What should he do next? Zhao Fu sank into his thoughts. Now that a powerful heaven-awakened world faction had appeared, Qin felt quite troubled. However, he could not do anything to harm him. After thinking for a while, Zhao Fu decided to send an army into the card world to let the other side know that there was a heaven-awakened world here. This place was so big, and the two factions could develop in different directions. They did not have to clash. Moreover, after destroying the 30 or so kingdoms in the surroundings, most of the surrounding kingdoms were royal kingdom factions. They were quite powerful, and if there were many of them, even Qin would not be able to stop them. Now that there was a powerful heaven-awakened world faction here, perhaps they would have a helper in the future. Zhao Fu said with a smile, "Let's go back." Everyone nodded. Hilary smiled and asked, "Have you thought of how to deal with this matter?" Zhao Fu responded with a smile and then took them back to Qin. They saw the power of Qin Palace with their own eyes and were shocked. Zhao Fu asked someone to show them around Qin Palace and tell them something about Qin Palace. Then he returned to Qin's palace. Seeing Zhao Fu return, Li Si smiled and respectfully called out, "Your Majesty." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. "Gather all the ministers now." Zhao Fu accepted the order and gathered the ministers to the main hall. Then, Zhao Fu told them about the information he had obtained in the card world. The various ministers felt quite shocked and felt that the card world was a very special world. They were not weak at all, especially with the many cards and powerful cavalry corps. These were all great advantages for them. Zhao Fu looked at the card world and said, "What's going on?" Zhao Fu said to Bai Shan, "Quickly organize the researchers and have them study the information in the card world." Bai Shan used to be the manager of the research lab, and he had been by Zhao Fu's side since a long time ago. Hearing this, Bai Shan happily smiled and said, "I understand, Your Majesty, we definitely won't disappoint you." Zhao Fu looked at Bai Qi and asked, "Are the troops ready?" Bai Qi replied, "Everything is ready. We're just waiting for Your Majesty's orders." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. "Then let's enter the card world to fight." This time, Zhao Fu planned to send 3 billion Stage 2 soldiers into the card world. Qin now had more than 18 billion Stage 2 soldiers, and the alchemy world also needed Stage 2 soldiers. Moreover, Zhao Fu did not want to reveal too much of Qin's strength. After all, if they revealed too much of their strength, the consequences would be quite tragic. Currently, the countries around Rock Nation were in a state of panic because of the appearance of a powerful faction like Tuwei. If it was just them, they definitely would not be able to stop Tuwei, and they were now thinking about how to deal with Tuwei. Apart from building their own defenses, the only other option was to join forces with other factions to resist together. They also gathered many people to discuss this. "What do you think we should do? Why did such a powerful heaven-awakened faction suddenly appear? We really might not be able to stop them." "That's right, it looks like it's a kingdom faction. Right now, we can only join forces and see if we can stop them. If not, we can only ask for help from those kingdom factions." "How could those kingdom factions help us? They want to devour us, so don't think too much about it. Right now, Thunder Nation is a bit more powerful, and your faction is the strongest. What do you think?" "You don't seem right. I feel that Rock Nation is the strongest right now. It's a pity that the Parliament did not come this time. Otherwise, if they joined us, we might be able to stop Tuwei." "Yes, it's mainly because of that person's help. That person is really terrifying. With his power, he will definitely be very useful." "Humph. If you mention that person again, Thunder Nation will immediately withdraw. You can join forces and find him." "Don't. They just said a few words. We think that Thunder Nation is the strongest faction, and we believe that you can defeat that person. Right now, they were all worried and discussing two-way. They had no idea that another terrifying faction had infiltrated the card world and was preparing to attack Thunder Nation. The Two-Way Kingdom had unknowingly done a good deed by helping Great Qin attract attention. At that moment, Zhao Fu was quickly leading a large army to attack Thunder Nation. Thunder Nation had been strengthening its defenses to defend against Rock Nation's attack. Rows of solemn-looking soldiers stood on the city walls. Suddenly, they saw a black mass in front of them, and they did not know what was flying over. As the black mass came closer, they saw a group of massive beasts flying in the sky, and a terrifying aura surged over. Thunder Nation's soldiers' expressions fell, and they quickly spread the news that enemies were attacking Thunder Nation. After hearing this, Thunder Nation did not hesitate, and countless soldiers hurried over. Peak. Chapter 2466. They thought to themselves that the Lock Kingdom couldn't resist attacking them, but luckily they had made preparations. However, when they reached the city walls, they found that the situation was quite bad. Looking at the countless powerful beasts flying over, their expressions became quite unsightly. This definitely wasn't the Lock Kingdom, as it was impossible for the Lock Kingdom to have so many beasts. However, what faction was attacking the Thunder Kingdom? Before they could think too much, the countless monsters had already arrived in front of them. There were eagles with black feathers, fish that could fly in the sky, monsters with human heads and bird bodies. A terrifying aura flooded over, and the soldiers felt their hands and feet go cold as their bodies uncontrollably trembled. "Hurry, activate the defensive barrier!" A loud shout sounded out as cards flew out from the town walls. Massive purple energy barriers appeared on the town walls, giving off massive lightning auras. Swish, 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 bows were drawn towards the sky, and the sound of the air being torn could be heard as countless arrows containing immense power shot towards the sky. The many ferocious beasts gave off boundless devil chi to block in front of them. Arrows shot out, but within the devil chi, the boundless devil chi weakened the power of the arrows. The weakened arrows landed on the bodies of the demonic beasts, penetrating their bodies. However, many of the arrows couldn't penetrate the demonic beasts' defenses. It was as if they had hit an iron sheet, producing clanging sounds as they fell from the sky. Seeing that the arrows were unable to harm the beasts, the Thunder Kingdom soldiers' expressions became quite unsightly as they took out cards. Boom, 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 massive sounds rang out as the cards turned into massive bolts of violet lightning that shot into the sky incredibly quickly. Bang, 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 these bolts of lightning were quite terrifying, directly blasting apart the devil chi in front of the devil beasts. They then struck the devil beasts' bodies, causing them to give off lightning and fall from the sky. They heavily smashed onto the ground, creating large craters. The terrifying cavalrymen split into small teams and stood on the city walls. They sent waves of power into their spears and vigorously stabbed towards the sky. Boom, 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 violet spear lights containing terrifying power and shocking auras ferociously stabbed towards the sky, seeming as if they were going to pierce through the sky. These spear lights were extremely terrifying and pierced through the bodies of the demonic beasts. Blood splattered everywhere and miserable screams sounded out. The corpses of the demonic beasts fell to the ground and dyed it red. Shio shio shio, the sound of the air being torn once again sounded out as countless arrows containing immense power shot out, piercing through devil beasts' bodies and causing them to fall to the ground. The Thunder Nation's people breathed sighs of relief. They felt like they could stop these demonic beasts, and they didn't need to worry too much. Shio shio shio, suddenly, a series of sonic booms tore through the air, and the Thunder Nation's soldiers felt their hairs stand on end as terror filled their hearts. Turning their heads, they saw massive beams of light shooting towards them, bringing with them the power to pierce through the world. Bang bang bang, before the Thunder Nation's people could react, the beams of light slammed into the Thunder Nation's defensive barrier, instantly piercing through it. Massive arrows landed on the city walls, bringing with them light as they tore apart countless soldiers' bodies. Cries sounded out as corpses appeared on the city walls. Blood dyed the surroundings red, and a bloody stench spread out. The Thunder Nation's people looked quite confused. They had never thought that something like this would happen. Kill! Countless shouts of battle rang out, shaking the entire area. The Thunder Nation soldiers were shocked, and they turned to look ahead. They saw countless black-armored soldiers charging over like a flood, and they were everywhere. What's going on? The soldiers all looked quite confused. Roar! 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 Massive roars sounded out as the Thunder Nation's defensive barrier was shattered. Countless devil beasts roared and looked savagely at the soldiers on the city walls before ferociously leaping over. A large bird with a strange beak rushed over and opened its mouth, biting dozens of Thunder Nation's soldiers before swallowing them. An eagle-like devil beast used its steel-like claws to attack, tearing apart the soldiers' bodies. A powerful devil beast flew down from the sky and landed on the city walls, giving off a powerful aura as it ferociously rushed towards the soldiers, sending them flying. There was also a massive bird that flapped its massive wings, creating a massive gale that blew the soldiers away. The city walls fell into chaos, and the Thunder Nation's soldiers desperately fought back. Cries continuously sounded out, and the number of people dying quickly increased. Boom! With the countless devil beasts as cover, Qin's soldiers were not obstructed at all. They directly attacked the city walls and quickly attacked the city walls. The soldiers quickly climbed up the city walls using ladders. Some used flying chains to quickly climb up the city walls, while others used their hands and feet to climb up. The Thunder Nation's soldiers used all sorts of heavy objects to smash at Qin's soldiers. They used bows and arrows to pierce through the bodies of Qin's soldiers, and they also used bolts of lightning to attack Qin's soldiers, electrocuting them to death. Swish, 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 the sound of the air being torn could be heard as Qin's soldiers desperately fought back. Arrows pierced through the Thunder Nation's soldiers, and spears and fireballs shot out, killing many Thunder Nation's soldiers. Qin's soldiers had many soldiers, and they were very powerful. They easily attacked the city walls and started to fight with the Thunder Nation soldiers. These Thunder Nation soldiers were definitely not a match for Qin's soldiers. Now, Qin's soldiers were wearing darkness armor and had all sorts of buffs and alchemy power. Ordinary alchemy soldiers were not a match for Qin's soldiers. Arg! Countless cries sounded out as the Thunder Nation soldiers were continuously killed by Qin's soldiers. Blood sprayed everywhere as soldiers continuously fell, and corpses covered the ground. Facing this group of demon-like soldiers, the Thunder Nation soldiers were unable to defend at all. Their hearts were filled with intense fear as they continuously retreated. The battle continued for a while. Countless Thunder Nation soldiers died, and they no longer had the strength to defend against Qin's soldiers. They looked terrified as they retreated, which meant that the Thunder Nation had lost. Some of the Thunder Nation's cavalrymen had cold looks on their faces, and they were unwilling to retreat. They gathered into groups and charged at Qin's soldiers. These cavalrymen's power was quite terrifying. They all held spears and looked furious. Their bodies gave off light as they quickly galloped on the ground. The light formed arrow-like objects that gave off terrifying power. Peak. Chapter 2467. Bang! Bang! The cavalry corps charged forwards incredibly quickly, seeming to be unstoppable. In that instant, the Qin soldiers at the front were all sent flying and crashed to the ground, coughing up mouthfuls of blood. Some soldiers were heavily injured, and some were directly killed. They lay on the ground and did not get up. Roar! 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 The 10 or so devil beasts loudly roared and gave off terrifying power as they ferociously rushed towards the cavalry corps. It was a pity that they were unable to defend against the cavalry corps and were sent flying. Some devil beasts' bodies even exploded, turning into chunks of flesh that shot everywhere. Seeing this scene, Bai Qi looked quite shocked. He had personally witnessed the cavalry corps' power and found that they were quite powerful. However, these cavalry corps were only a small portion and did not have much of an impact on the battle. A group of Qin's archers quickly formed a formation and aimed their bows at the cavalry corps, sending a wave of power into the arrows in their hands. Swish, 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 countless arrows containing immense power shot towards the cavalry corps, descending like a torrential downpour, piercing through everything. Charge! The leader of the cavalry corps held his spear and rushed at the front as he yelled, giving off an even more powerful aura. The other cavalrymen held their spears and followed by his side, giving off powerful auras. Facing the sky full of arrows, they did not feel any fear at all. They formed an arrow-like body of light that gave off an even more terrifying power as it rushed towards the Qin's archers. Bang! 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 The sky full of arrows descended with terrifying power, but they were knocked away by the arrow-like body of light, using up much of the cavalry corps' strength. The cavalry corps continued to quickly rush towards the Qin's soldiers like a ray of light. At that moment, the Qin's soldiers pushed out terrifying ballistae, which were 2 meters long and gave off cold light as they aimed at the incoming cavalry corps. Swish, 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 massive sounds of the air being torn could be heard as the ballistae bolts containing even greater power shot towards the cavalry corps, instantly descending. Chi, chi, chi. The cavalrymen had already expended a lot of their strength and were unable to defend against the ballista bolt. The bodies of light in front of them were pierced by the ballista bolts, and the ballista bolts contained immense power as they pierced through the cavalrymen's bodies. Some of the cavalrymen were shot down from their horses, some were lying on the ground, and some were standing on the ground. The horses that were equipped with artifacts were also pierced by the 2-meter-long arrows and died on the ground. The leader of the cavalry who was leading the charge was pierced by dozens of ballista bolts. His body and his horse were rooted to the ground, his face contorted in pain. There were corpses all around and their deaths were unsightly. The ground was dyed red with blood, and the scene was extremely tragic. Hundreds of massive devil beasts stared at a group of cavalrymen and gave off powerful auras as they pounced at them from all directions. Terrifying power shattered the orb of light, and the devil beasts savagely devoured the cavalrymen. Some devil beasts bit down on 10 or so cavalrymen and chewed on them a few times, causing blood to spurt out and pitiful cries to continuously sound out. Some devil beasts directly devoured the cavalrymen, while others used their blade-like feathers to cut the cavalrymen into pieces. Cavalrymen were quite good at suppressing large creatures, but Qin was using numbers to suppress them. Even if they could suppress large creatures, they would not be able to defend against so many devil beasts. The other soldiers had long since escaped, and it was only these cavalrymen who had fought with Qin to the death. Even though they had all died pitifully, they were still a respectable cavalryman. Bai Qi coldly looked at the countless corpses on the ground and gave the order to attack the Thunder Kingdom. Boom! 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 Massive explosions sounded out in all directions as Great Qin's soldiers flooded towards the various regions of the Thunder Kingdom, quickly conquering the various territories. Countless residents ran in terror, and ear-piercing screams sounded out from some places as blood dyed the ground red. At that moment, the Parliament was discussing how to deal with the Two-Way Kingdom. A Thunder Kingdom soldier hurriedly ran in with a pale face and said a few words to the Thunder Kingdom's prince. The Thunder Kingdom's prince felt as if the sky had collapsed, and his face became incredibly pale. The leaders of the other factions received this news and looked incredibly shocked. How could something like this happen? Everyone's expressions were quite unsightly. Before, just the Two-Way Kingdom had already made them feel quite worried, and they felt that they would not be able to defend against it. Now, another powerful faction had appeared. Even though they did not know what faction it was, it had attacked the Thunder Kingdom as quickly as lightning, so its strength was definitely quite terrifying. It was most likely a Heaven Awakened World faction, or else they could not think of anyone else. Facing these two terrifying Heaven Awakened World factions, everyone felt quite terrified, and they felt even more powerless. Right now, they could only contact more people and hope that they would be able to defend against these two Heaven Awakened World factions and tell the other kingdoms about this. Only then would they be able to defend against them. Otherwise, they would not be able to stop them at all. The Thunder Kingdom's prince grabbed the soldier's body and hurriedly asked, "Have my royal father and the royal family escaped yet?" The soldier said in pain, "That army was too fast, and the royal family was unable to escape at all. It's possible that they've all been captured or killed." Hearing this, the Thunder Kingdom's prince immediately thought of going back to save them. However, he did not have much power, and he did not have many people, so going back would be equivalent to committing suicide. The Prince of the Thunder Nation stood up and looked at the people around him. He said sincerely, "My Thunder Nation is currently facing a great calamity. I would like to ask everyone to lend me some troops and experts. I want to save my family and friends. I will definitely repay you handsomely." However, everyone ignored the Thunder Kingdom's prince. Now that the Thunder Kingdom had been destroyed, the Thunder Kingdom's prince had no value at all. Moreover, that faction was so powerful, and they did not want to send people to their death. The Thunder Kingdom's prince looked at the people who had been so courteous to him but now completely ignored him, and he felt quite furious. He furiously looked around and did not say anything before taking his people and leaving. Now that the Thunder Kingdom had been destroyed, he was nothing and had no value at all. If he dared to argue with these people, he would definitely be killed. However, the Thunder Kingdom's prince had no way to save his family, so he could only anxiously wait and hope that nothing bad would happen. News of the Thunder Kingdom's destruction quickly spread, and countless people were incredibly shocked. The Thunder Kingdom was one of the most powerful factions in the surrounding area, so how had it been destroyed just like that? Just what sort of terrifying faction had done this? After hearing about this, the Two-Way Kingdom's people also looked quite surprised. Top. Chapter 2468. Boom. A massive explosion sounded out as the Thunder Kingdom's palace was shattered by a powerful force. Countless Qin soldiers gave off powerful auras and rushed in, surrounding the Thunder Kingdom's people, but they did not kill them. The Thunder Kingdom's king led a group of people and looked at the soldiers with a grim expression as he asked, "Who are you people?" A light laugh sounded out in the sky as a figure appeared in the sky. It was Zhao Fu, and he smiled as he looked down at the Thunder Kingdom's people and said, "My faction is called the Qin Empire." Seeing Zhao Fu in the sky, the Thunder Kingdom's king's face became pale. He had never thought that it would be Zhao Fu's faction. They had great enmity with Zhao Fu, and now that they had fallen into his hands, their fates would be quite miserable. The Thunder Kingdom's king felt quite regretful. If they had known that this would happen, they would not have attacked the Lock Kingdom for a woman, and the Thunder Kingdom would not have been destroyed. It was a pity that it was too late to say anything now. The Thunder Kingdom's king looked at Zhao Fu and said coldly, "What do you want to do with us now?" Zhao Fu looked at the Thunder Kingdom's people and smiled as he said, "It depends on your performance." Seeing that Zhao Fu did not intend to kill them all, the Thunder Kingdom's king let out a sigh of relief and said, "If the Thunder Kingdom submits to you, can you keep our status and territory?" Zhao Fu could not help but laugh as he said, "You still have the right to negotiate with me? Also, the Qin Empire is a centralized system, not a feudal system. You won't have the status of a royal clan, nor will you have territory." The Thunder Kingdom's king's expression became quite unsightly. This meant that if they submitted to the Qin Empire, they would have nothing. However, the Thunder Kingdom's king thought about it and decided that he did not have the right to negotiate with the Qin Empire. It would be good if he could survive, so he said, "All right. The Thunder Kingdom is willing to submit to the Qin Empire." Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile and said domineeringly, "Kneel." Pay your respects to me." Hearing this, Thunder Nation's king felt a wave of humiliation. He was the ruler of a kingdom, and his status and bloodline were incredibly noble. Normally, anyone who saw him would have to kneel, but now, he was kneeling in front of someone else. The other members of the royal family also felt a sense of humiliation. Before, they all had noble statuses. Unfortunately, even if they were humiliated, they couldn't refuse. The Thunder Nation had already been destroyed by Qin. If they didn't kneel down and surrender, they would die. The King of Thunder suppressed the humiliation and anger in his heart and was about to kneel down. "I'm not willing to serve you," a voice suddenly rang out in the quiet scene. Everyone looked over and saw a woman with gold-rimmed glasses. Her beige hair was tied up in a bun, and she had a mature figure. Her chest was very big, and she was holding a book. She was wearing a long robe and was staring coldly at Zhao Fu. She was the Minister of Internal Affairs of the Thunder Nation, as well as the head librarian of the royal family's library. Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he said, "Aren't you afraid of death?" The woman's expression was cold as she said proudly, "Everyone has to die one day, but I choose to die with dignity." The Thunder Nation has existed for 368 years, and it has a powerful legacy and rich culture. If it perishes today, I'm willing to die for it. Hearing these words, a few elderly people stepped out and looked at Zhao Fu as they said, "We won't be able to live for long anyway, so we're only subjects of the Thunder Nation, not slaves of the royal family." Some people with dignity and integrity also stepped out and looked at Zhao Fu as they said, "We're also willing to die for the powerful Thunder Nation. We don't want it to perish in humiliation." Qin's soldiers coldly looked at these people and gave off powerful killing intent. Anyone who dared to speak to the Qin kingdom like this had to die, and they had to die miserably. Now the atmosphere became quite oppressive and no one said anything. Everyone looked at each other, not knowing what to do. The Thunder Nation's king looked at his own subjects, who were so dignified and unwilling to kneel. As the king of the Thunder Nation, how could he endure such humiliation? Even if he submitted to Qin and kept his life, he would not have any chance to restore his kingdom in the future, and he would be controlled by the Qin Empire. The Thunder Nation's king made up his mind and drew a saber, giving off a powerful aura as he called out, "I'm not willing to submit to you either. I challenge you as the king of the Thunder Nation. Do you dare to fight?" Zhao Fu laughed and looked at him condescendingly as he said, "You can try." Boom! An explosion sounded out as the Thunder Nation's king gave off a massive aura as he leapt up from the ground and rushed towards Zhao Fu in the sky. He sent all of his power into his saber, causing it to give off an intense saber light that seemed to be able to slash apart anything. Zhao Fu looked at the Thunder Nation's king charging at him, and stretched out a hand. A massive wave of power flowed out as he pressed down. Bang! The Thunder Nation's king felt as if he had been hit by a massive force, and he directly crashed to the ground, smashing out a large crater. Everyone felt quite shocked. This person's power was so terrifying. The Thunder Nation's king lay in the crater and coughed up a large mouthful of blood, and he did not even have the strength to crawl up. Some people hurriedly rushed over to the crater and checked on the Thunder Nation's king's injuries. The first had a mature figure and a large chest. She also wore glasses and had beige hair. She looked quite similar to the Minister of Internal Affairs, but she was more mature. They were most likely sisters. She was also the Thunder Nation's queen and the prince's mother. The second had a graceful figure and had light purple hair. She gave off a flirtatious aura and was quite beautiful. The third had a sexy figure and had flaxen-colored hair. She looked quite gentle, and the fourth wore a black dress. She was tall and slim and gave off a cold and elegant feeling. There were also 2 princes and 2 princesses. The princes looked quite dignified, and were 17 years old and 13 years old respectively. The 2 princesses were also around 17 years old, and looked quite pure and moving. "Your Majesty!" The queen cried out worriedly as she hugged the Thunder Nation's king, who was coughing up blood. The Thunder Nation's king looked around at his wife and children and gave an unsightly smile as he said, "Don't worry about me. Dying like this is my pride. Choose who you submit to." The queen cried as she shook her head, saying, "I am willing to die with your majesty. As the queen of the Thunder Nation, I should be buried with Thunder Nation." The gentle-looking queen's gaze was resolute as she cried and said, "I'm also willing to die with your majesty." The other two queens hesitated and did not say anything. As for the 4 princes and princesses, they looked quite afraid. They were still young and did not want to die. The flirtatious queen thought for a moment before saying guiltily, "I'm sorry." Hearing her words, everyone else felt quite startled and had a bad feeling. Chapter 2469. The bewitching princess consort stood up and bowed to Zhao Fu, saying flirtatiously, "I'm willing to submit to you and become your woman to serve you." She did not want to die, nor did she want her daughter to die. At the same time, she had to make plans for the future. After they submitted to Zhao Fu, they would most likely be imprisoned and spend the rest of their lives like that. The cold-looking princess consort thought about it and made a decision. She stood up and looked at Zhao Fu with her beautiful eyes as she said, "I can also serve you, but you have to give me and my family preferential treatment." Thunder Nation's king looked at his 2 wives and felt furious. Even though he wanted them to submit and keep their lives, he did not want his women to serve another man. What's more, this man had destroyed the Thunder Nation. "The 2 of you are not fit to be Thunder Nation's princesses, nor are you fit to be my women." The first princess consort said angrily, "How can you face His Majesty? His Majesty has always treated you well." The ministers who had originally wanted to be buried with the Thunder Nation also shouted angrily, "The 2 of you are a disgrace to the Thunder Nation. You've lost all face for the Thunder Nation. How could you do something so immoral?" Bang! Bang! Muffled sounds suddenly sounded out as the ministers were sent flying back by a massive force. They crashed to the ground and coughed up a large mouthful of blood. Boom! A terrifying aura covered countless people, causing them to fall into terror. Zhao Fu said domineeringly, "They are my women now. Whoever dares to say another word will die." The bewitching princess consort and cold-looking princess consort gave a trace of a smile. Since Zhao Fu had accepted them so easily, it seemed that he was interested in them. They did not have to worry about what would happen in the future. Zhao Fu then said, "Take away those who are unwilling to submit and take them to the palace." Qin's soldiers went up and took them away. Thunder Nation's king looked at the Qin soldiers taking his women and daughters to the other side and thought of something. He furiously yelled, "Release them, or I'll kill you." A few of Qin's soldiers snorted coldly and kicked Thunder King. Now, Thunder King's power was sealed by Zhao Fu, and he could not resist at all. Then, he was dragged away by force. The 2 princesses cried and struggled, but they were still brought into the main hall by the soldiers. In the end, Zhao Fu sat on the throne of the State of Thunder and looked at the 7 women in front of him. There were 4 concubines, 2 princesses, and the Minister of Internal Affairs. Among the 7 of them, Zhao Fu was most interested in the pair of sisters, the first princess consort and the Minister of Internal Affairs. Now, one of them was crying with her head lowered, while the other was coldly looking at Zhao Fu with an arrogant expression. Zhao Fu walked in front of the 2 of them and pulled them into his embrace, playing with the things in front of their chests. The 2 of them vigorously struggled, and as the younger sister of the Minister of Internal Affairs, she angrily cursed at Zhao Fu, "Scum, let go of me." However, as Zhao Fu continued to play with their bodies, they also lost the ability to resist. They leaned on Zhao Fu's shoulders, blushing as they panted. The beautiful princess hadn't thought that Zhao Fu would be most interested in them, and she felt quite envious. However, she didn't want to fall behind, so she took off her clothes and threw herself into Zhao Fu's arms. Soon, indescribable noises sounded out in the main hall. The Prince of Thunder Kingdom was anxiously waiting for news, but he didn't get any news. He had never thought that his mother would be under Zhao Fu's body with a lewd expression and shameful noises. Her younger sister, the arrogant Minister of Internal Affairs, was even more lewd than her, and kept demanding things from Zhao Fu. In the prison, Thunder King's face twisted with anger as he cursed. He knew what was happening, and that his wife and daughter were being violated by that bastard. On the other side, Qin's soldiers attacked the major territories of Thunder Kingdom. If they wanted to completely overthrow the feudal system, they had to kill or conquer all the lords, and then use powerful force to suppress the territories. In this way, the forces would not be in chaos. If there was no powerful force to suppress the territories, those lords would definitely be dissatisfied with Qin. Even if they surrendered, they would not do it willingly, and they might rebel at any time. Moreover, the feudal system was based on the basis that whoever made contributions could have territories and titles. But now it was the Qin world that was attacking them. The Qin world was not a feudal system. Those who made contributions would not be given territories. If the people of the card world did not make contributions, they would naturally be convinced. However, it was not something that could be done in a short time to change the minds of the people of the card world. It would take a long time. Without too much difficulty, Qin's soldiers conquered all the territories of Thunder Kingdom. Those lords, big and small, were either killed or taken to the palace of Thunder Kingdom. Bai Qi counted the results of the battle. In total, they had gained more than 2 billion people of the card world, more than 200 million soldiers, and countless other materials. The only pity was that almost all the cavalry regiment of Thunder Kingdom chose to die in battle, and no one was willing to surrender. Bai Qi had seen the terrible cavalry regiment with his own eyes, and he very much wanted to take them under Qin's command. If they worked for Qin, they would definitely be of great use to Qin. Now that almost all the cavalry regiment had died, Bai Qi did not care too much, because he believed that His Majesty would definitely cultivate a more powerful cavalry regiment. Bai Qi also had a 100% faith in Zhao Fu. Bai Qi wanted to report this matter to Zhao Fu, but he found that the gate of the hall was still closed, and there was a boundary protecting it. He understood what had happened inside, and he had no opinion on one thing. After all, Zhao Fu was the Emperor of Qin, a supreme person who could do whatever he wanted, and no one could restrain him. Moreover, he hoped that Zhao Fu would be like this. Over the past 10 years, although Qin had become more and more powerful, Zhao Fu still had no children, and Qin's bloodline had not been continued. Although the Ying family also had the bloodline of Qin, it had been affected by the fate of Qin Empire, and now it had also become a royal bloodline. However, their bloodline was very different from Zhao Fu's bloodline, and the gap was simply indescribable. Qin was not the Qin of history, and the orthodox royal bloodline of Qin should be based on Zhao Fu's bloodline. The bloodline of the Ying family was only qualified to be a collateral bloodline. Seeing that Zhao Fu was enjoying the women inside, Bai Qi gathered many generals in another place, and distributed the following tasks. In the chaotic world and the alchemy world, Qin first found an uninhabited place to build a base, and then used this base as the main base to develop around. Now, however, it was different. Now that Qin entered the card world, he had conquered a country, and did not build any base, so Qin decided to use Thunder Kingdom as the base, and develop around it. Chapter 2470. Zhao Fu had already given orders for this, so Bai Qi and the other generals only had to follow Zhao Fu's orders. The war gates and exchange stone steels were constructed near the royal palace, and the Thunder Kingdom's defenses were strengthened. The structures that Qin had destroyed also had to be rebuilt. It was impossible for Qin's soldiers to complete all of these things, as Qin's soldiers still had to defend the various regions and borders. The situation was not stable, and they needed Qin's soldiers to suppress and defend. Bai Qi gave the order to bring over the Thunder Kingdom's ministers who were willing to submit to Qin. He first looked through their information and got rid of those who had no ability or had questionable morals. He then said, "If you're willing to submit to Qin, then Qin will not mistreat you. Right now, Qin is in need of people, and there are many things that you need to lead the residents to complete. If you have any dreams or ambitions, just tell me. I, Qin, can fulfill your dreams and give you massive power and a position far higher than anyone else's." The other ministers smiled. They felt that Qin was a very good faction. It was very powerful and had strict military discipline, and its generals were all very talented. Only a country that was powerful, respected talented people, was fair in rewards and punishments, valued the country itself, had ideals and ambitions, and had foresight would be able to do so. As such, it would place great importance on them and value their dreams and ambitions. They were very happy to serve such a faction, as the future was bright. They all obeyed. Following this, the ministers left. Some went to comfort the terrified residents, while others led the residents to build various structures. Some of the Thunder Kingdom's residents and soldiers escaped to the surrounding kingdoms, and the surrounding factions confirmed that this was a faction from the Heaven Awakened world. Everyone looked terrified as they strengthened their defenses and continued to communicate with the other factions, discussing how to deal with this. The Two-Way Kingdom's people were quite curious about this faction, and they sent people to investigate. They found Qin's soldiers dressed in black armor and had cold expressions, giving off terrifying auras. They quickly went back to report, "This faction is extremely powerful and is not an ordinary faction." Even they felt a trace of fear. Hearing this news, the leaders of the Two-Way Kingdom also attached great importance to it. Some powerful cultivators even sneaked into the Two-Way Kingdom and found that Qin was indeed very powerful. Then, they went back to discuss this matter. With the Heaven Awakened world's rules, they could not be enemies. Even if they did not get along, at most, they would not help each other and would not do anything to harm each other. This was a benefit. Secondly, because they had an additional force, their development would also be somewhat restricted. This could be considered as a disadvantage. However, if there is any great danger, they can still help, because they have a common enemy, and the people of other card worlds also see them as enemies. The Two-Way Country planned to send someone over to make friends with the Thunder Country after the situation in the Thunder Country stabilized. Hillary and her knight were still in Qin, looking at all kinds of things in shock. They had no idea what had happened in the Thunder Country. The elders and the president of the Knights Union who knew about this were also shocked by the power of Qin's soldiers. They had destroyed a country so quickly. The Thunder Nation was one of the strongest nations in the vicinity, but it didn't have much resistance against Qin. Because this had happened too suddenly, the Thunder Nation's Knights Union had not been able to escape, and they were now trapped within the Thunder Nation. The higher-level Knights Union gave orders to the surrounding unions to prepare to rescue the people from the Knights Union and gather all information about this faction. The Knights Union took this faction quite seriously. Right now, the Knights Union did not have any plans to attack the Qin Empire because this was the planar war. There were countless Heaven Awakened world factions in the card world, and even though the Knights Union was powerful, it could not defend against the entire Heaven Awakened world by itself. If something like this happened, they could only ask the Union's people to investigate and pay attention to their own safety. If anything happened, they could immediately retreat. Only if the situation was very serious and posed a great threat to the Knights Union, would the Knights Union consider sending out soldiers. Now, Eileen had received orders from her superiors, and she and the other elders smiled. They did not have to worry about Qin at all, as they were that man's women. Moreover, they thought about how to deal with the Thunder Nation's Knights Union. Rescuing those people was quite simple for them, and after completing this task, the Knights Union would give them great rewards. They could use these rewards to develop their own factions, and they had already started to form their own cavalry corps. Finally, back at the Thunder Nation's palace, Zhao Fu lay on the ground and hugged his women. On his left was the Minister of Internal Affairs, and on his right was the First Queen. The pair of sisters looked incredibly good, and even Zhao Fu felt a bit infatuated with them. Now, their faces were quite red, and they powerlessly leaned against Zhao Fu's embrace as they panted. By now, Zhao Fu knew the sisters' names. The older sister's queen was called Helensa, and the younger sister was called Hisami. There were also 3 other queens, who were called Diamina, Beatrice, and Camis. The 2 princesses were called Lydia and Betty. Zhao Fu liked those sisters the most, so he had done it with them the longest. This made the other women feel quite envious, but they were also greatly satisfied, and they were also panting in Zhao Fu's embrace. Helensa rested for a while before looking at Zhao Fu and pleading, "Can you let go of my man now?" Zhao Fu thought to himself with a smile. Beside him, Hisami said softly, "Letting go of my brother-in-law will be good for you. It can help you rule the Thunder Nation, and we sisters belong to you now. You don't want us to be sad, do you?" Zhao Fu turned to look at Hisami and said with a smile, "So you're willing to submit to me now? That's not what you said before." Hisami blushed. "You've already treated me like this. What else can I do? Also, I don't want my sister to be sad. Also, you must not hurt my family before I'm willing to be your woman." Zhao Fu chuckled. "No problem. I'll let go of the Thunder Nation King, but I'll restrict all of his power and restrict him to a certain area. If he doesn't agree, I'll let him go." Helensa happily kissed Zhao Fu and said with a smile, "Thank you." Zhao Fu said with a smile, "It's getting late. I still have a lot of things to deal with. You can rest here for a while." The women nodded with smiles on their faces. Zhao Fu put on his clothes and left the hall. However, he did not expect that Bai Qi had already taken care of everything, and he did not even need to give any orders. It was good to have such a general. Chapter 2471. After the women rested for a while and recovered their strength, they put on their clothes and went to the prison. Looking at the wretched king of thunder cursing angrily, they felt their hearts ache. Not long ago, he had been the ruler of a kingdom and was respected by tens of thousands of people. Seeing them come and seeing their red faces, King Thunder naturally understood what had happened. He gritted his teeth and said, "You still have the face to see me? Get the hell out of here, I don't want to see you." The coquettish concubines lightly sighed, feeling a bit guilty. Helena's eyes became wet, and she felt very sorry for King Thunder. Not only did King Thunder blame her, but she had also betrayed her man both physically and mentally. Her little sister, Hisami, looked at King Thunder and said, "Brother-in-law, now that things have become like this, you and I can't change it. If the Kingdom of Thunder was powerful, this would not have happened. However, we have been destroyed by Qin. Now we beg him to let you go. Live a good life from now on. If I have time, my big sister and I will visit you. As for your children, we'll take care of them, so you don't have to worry." King Thunder said angrily, "I don't want to live anymore. Tell that bastard to kill me, or I'll kill him." Helena said with tears in her eyes, "Your Majesty, don't be like this. Don't be like this. We all want you to live well." King Thunder looked at Helena's flushed and beautiful face and yelled angrily, "Get the hell out of here! I already said I don't want to see you." The alluring concubine said angrily, "Do you know how hard we worked to get him to let you go? You're just a prisoner now. What do you think you have that we can cherish?" Hearing this, the image of Zhao Fu and his women appeared in King Thunder's mind, and he was about to explode with rage. He roared, "Get the hell out of here! I'll definitely kill him and make him die a horrible death." Helena cried as she pleaded, "Your Majesty! We've let you down, but you have to think about your future." King Thunder acted as if he did not hear her at all and yelled, "I'll make him die a horrible death! I'll take all of his women." Hisami looked at King Thunder in disappointment. He was now like a crazy beast, and he was no longer the steady and powerful king he used to be. She said to Helena, "Big sister, let's go. Brother-in-law is angry right now. We'll come back in a few days. Also, it's best not to let him see you like this, because we're all his women now." Hearing this, Helensa also recalled how Zhao Fu had violated her in various ways, and a blush appeared on her face. She lightly nodded, then glanced at King Thunder before leaving with the others. The Prince of the Thunder Kingdom also got the news that his parents were not dead, but had been captured by Qin. The Prince of the Thunder Kingdom was relieved. Previously, he wanted to kill Zhao Fu and enjoy Zhao Fu's woman. But now, not only was his woman violated by Zhao Fu, his mother and sister were also violated by Zhao Fu. A few days later, the situation in the Thunder Kingdom was stabilized, and the people in all areas accepted the rule of Qin. The name of the Thunder Kingdom was officially abolished on this day. Because the Thunder Kingdom had been conquered by Qin, it would naturally not continue to use his name. Moreover, if it continued to use this name, the people of the Thunder Kingdom would have a sense of belonging, so it had to be changed. Zhao Fu had wanted to give it a few nice names, such as Kanglin, Tianhen, Yueshu, Kunwu, etc. However, he felt that none of these names were suitable, and this was already Qin's territory. It would be even worse if he gave it a name that was not related to Qin, so he called it Qin's residence, and the people there were all people of Qin. After taking control of the Thunder Kingdom, Zhao Fu directly merged the Rock Kingdom into it. The two countries were connected, and for the convenience of ruling, Zhao Fu did not want to manage them separately. Now Qin had a large territory. The others also realized that the Rock Kingdom had long been under Qin's control, and that mysterious expert was one of Qin's people. The various forces became even more afraid, as they understood how terrifying Zhao Fu was. There were also some other matters. According to Eileen's request, Zhao Fu released the Thunder Nation's Night Association. It did not make much sense to kill them, and it did not benefit Zhao Fu. However, because Elena had contributed to this rescue, she received a lot of rewards. The Knights' Union also implemented a point system. The higher the points, the higher the authority, and the higher the level of the items that could be exchanged. Although Elena and the 11 Knights were the president and the elder of a place, their status in the Knights' Union was not high. Instead, they were relatively low, so they had very little authority and could not make many decisions. Zhao Fu thought that if he helped Elena and the others to improve their status in the Knights' Union, it would bring him many benefits. The Knights' Union was the most powerful force in the card world. Elena also persuaded the higher-ups of the Knights' Union to let them continue to stay in Qin's territory and collect information about Qin. The people in the Knights' Union did not refuse this request. They were very curious about the power of Qin, and they also wanted to get information about Qin. Of course, the information they got was deliberately leaked to them by Qin, because Elena and the others already belonged to Qin. In addition to this matter, there was also the matter of Hillary. After the Rock Kingdom was integrated into the Thunder Kingdom, the enfeoffment system was also abolished. However, Hillary was still the queen, and she managed the whole territory of Qin's territory. However, she was not very interested in managing various things, and she had been building her own cavalry regiment. Now, part of the territory was managed by Qin's people, and the other part was managed by the former ministers of the Rock Kingdom and the Thunder Kingdom. Zhao Fu found that Helena and Hisami both had good management skills, so he also handed some things over to them. Under various management, the people's lives did not change much, and they gradually had a sense of belonging to Qin's territory. Finally, there was the matter of the National Cavalry Regiment. This was the National Cavalry Regiment, not the one that Zhao Fu asked Hillary and Elena to build. Zhao Fu asked them to build the top cavalry regiment, but it was very difficult to build a top cavalry regiment, and it would take a long time. Therefore, they had to focus on the ordinary cavalry regiment. There were about 800,000 people in the Rock Cavalry Regiment. Because they did not participate in any battles, they did not suffer any losses. The thunder-rumbling cavalries, originally 1 million people, were almost completely wiped out. The precious artifacts on their bodies were all removed to be reused, but many of them were still damaged. This was because a set of precious artifacts was extremely precious, and the thunder-rumbling country only had 300,000 of them. In fact, they did not expect that the Thunder Cavalry Regiment would be completely destroyed one day. Chapter 2472. If Qin wanted to create a cavalry corps of 1 million soldiers, he would need many more sets of relics. Even though the Kingdom of Lok had 200,000 or so sets of relics, every kingdom's relics were different. They all had their own forging methods and attribute. Most importantly, a cavalry corps' relics had to have the same attributes in order to unleash the most power. The Kingdom of Lok's relics were of the water attribute, while the Kingdom of Thunder's relics were of the lightning attribute. Now, Qin could only gather all sorts of materials and ask the Thunder Kingdom's equipment masters to forge new relics. Finally, there were warhorses. The cavalry corps' warhorses naturally could not be ordinary warhorses. They had to be powerful warhorses that matched the soldiers' attributes. Almost all of the warhorses had died in battle. The Thunder Nation had also raised the warhorses, but they were still lacking in numbers. They needed roughly 400,000 of them. Zhao Fu continued to have people nurture warhorses and buy them from the Knights Guild. However, he would not be able to create a cavalry corps in a short period of time. Zhao Fu thought to himself, in the future, he would definitely conquer different kingdoms and have different cavalry corps. If rebuilding was so difficult, it would be quite troublesome. Should he create a cavalry corps that belonged to Qin? He would have people, relics, and warhorses, and he would not have to rely on conquering other kingdoms to increase his cavalry corps. However, this was quite difficult. First, Qin was a Heaven-Awakened world faction, so his soldiers could not become knights from the card world. They could not use relics, so it would be impossible to create a cavalry corps. Secondly, he would need relics that matched the soldiers' attributes, which was a kingdom's relic. This would require Qin to research and create his own relic. Thirdly, there were warhorses. Right now, Qin's most common warhorses were Black God horses, which were mostly at Stage 2. Only a few of them were at Stage 3, so he needed stronger warhorses. Zhao Fu handed all of these to his subordinates to research and see if they could give Qin's soldiers the knight profession and create Qin's relic. This would take a long time and would not be completed in a short period of time. Bai Qi had seen how powerful the cavalry corps was, and he was quite interested in them, so he decided to participate. After dealing with all kinds of things, Zhao Fu wanted to discuss the next thing with the ministers. A bodyguard came in and reported, "Tuwei country sent a messenger to Qin and wants to see your majesty." Zhao Fu was a little surprised. He didn't expect that Tuwei country would take the initiative to contact Qin. He nodded and let the messenger of Tuwei country in. Subsequently, a tall man from the Tuwei kingdom entered the hall and bowed to Zhao Fu. "Greetings, your majesty." Zhao Fu felt that the other party's attitude was good, and a smile appeared on his face. "And what is the purpose of your Tuwei country coming to Qin?" The messenger of Tuwei said with a smile, "Our country has heard of the power of the Qin state, so we specially came to visit and brought the local products of Tuwei as gifts." After he finished speaking, more than a dozen people from Tuwei sent a few big boxes. When the boxes were opened, they contained some earth element treasures. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "Your Tuwei country is too polite. I'll go visit in the future." Seeing that Zhao Fu's attitude was quite good, the messenger of Tuwei smiled and said, "Apart from paying a visit, I also have something to discuss with your majesty." Zhao Fu looked at him and asked, "What is it?" The messenger of Tuwei smiled as he said, Both of our kingdoms have entered the card world as heaven-awakened world factions and have to face countless card world kingdoms. We have a common enemy and are so close to each other. My kingdom wants to ally with Qin to resist the card world factions together. So you're here to ally? Zhao Fu started to think. Forming an alliance was not a bad thing for Qin. First, they could not attack each other. Moreover, they had to face countless card world factions in the card world, so it would be better to have more helpers. After making this decision, Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "No problem. I, Qin, am willing to ally with your Tuwei country." The messenger of Tuwei felt quite delighted. He had completed such an important matter so easily. He did not encounter any difficulties and smiled as he said, "Your Majesty, forming an alliance with us is beneficial to both sides. Your Majesty, you've made the right decision." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "I'll order people to hold a banquet and have Qin entertain you." The messenger of Tuwei said humbly, "I'll have to trouble your Majesty. Also, I need to report this matter to the Tuwei country and will have to leave for a while." Following this, the messenger of Tuwei had people send this news back. The people from the Thunder Kingdom felt quite happy. They had thought that Qin's faction was even more powerful than theirs, as it had been able to destroy two powerful kingdoms in an instant without facing much resistance. The terrifying expert they had thought was not someone from the card world but the ruler of the Qin kingdom. With such a terrifying king who had easily destroyed two kingdoms, his strength was definitely monstrous. Having such a powerful faction as an ally was a great thing. Not long after, the Tuwei kingdom suddenly attacked the two small kingdoms next to it, the Dori kingdom and Yushi kingdom. Boom! Boom! Two loud explosions sounded out as the army of the Tuwei kingdom divided into two groups and rushed towards the two small kingdoms with great power. Although the two small kingdoms had strengthened their defenses, they were still terrified. They hurriedly informed others to defend against the Tuwei kingdom. When the others heard this, they were shocked. What they had been worried about had happened. Without hesitation, they hurriedly sent troops to attack the Tuwei kingdom's base from all directions, trying to stall the Tuwei kingdom. When Qin heard this, he ordered Qin's soldiers to divide into several groups and attack several kingdoms separately. Zhao Fu was not really going to attack them, but he was just trying to scare them and make them withdraw their troops. Facing Qin's attack, the kingdoms could do nothing. They were afraid that they could not resist Qin, so they could only withdraw their troops to resist Qin. They could not ignore their own safety for the sake of other kingdoms. Now they understood that if two terrifying factions allied, they would feel terrified and powerless to resist one. Now they would feel a little desperate. The people from the Tuwei kingdom smiled. With Qin's help, the pressure on them had been greatly reduced. They continued to order people to attack the two kingdoms. They turned their attention to the two battlefields. The two armies continued to charge towards the two kingdoms, and the people from the two kingdoms shot out arrows that contained immense force as they tore through the sky and rained down towards the two armies. The Tuwei kingdom was indeed very powerful. It gave off countless yellow lights. Countless arrows were all blocked by the yellow lights. It was as if the arrows had hit a wall and were sent flying and falling to the ground. Peak. Chapter 2473. The two armies continued to charge towards the two kingdoms. The kingdom of Dori immediately threw out countless cards, which turned into countless green motes of light. Massive green rocks containing immense force shot forward. Bang! 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 A series of loud sounds rang out as the cyan boulders collided with the yellow light, causing the yellow light to dim. However, the Doi kingdom had more soldiers, and the yellow light they gave off was quite powerful. The yellow light only dimmed and did not disappear. The kingdom of Dori once again threw out countless cards, which turned into countless green motes of light. Massive green rocks containing terrifying force shot towards the Doi kingdom with terrifying sounds. Bang! Bang! Bang, muffled sounds sounded out as the countless green rocks smashed against the yellow light, causing the yellow light to dim. Some of the green rocks were not blocked and smashed against the Dawi people's bodies. The Dawi people were quite powerful, and facing the falling rocks, they punched out, shattering the falling rocks and continuing to rush towards the kingdom of Dori. Swish, 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 the kingdom of Dori once again shot out arrows, giving off massive auras as if they could pierce through everything. Countless Dawi people shot out. By now, the yellow light that the Dawi army gave off was quite dim, and it could only block a small portion of the arrows. Most of the arrows continued towards the Dawi army. The Edatail soldiers unleashed a powerful force, and their bodies quickly became as hard as stone. When the arrows hit their bodies, most of them were sent flying, and only a small portion of the arrows pierced through the Edatail soldiers' bodies. The Dawi soldiers' expressions became quite grim, and they felt that the Dawi soldiers were too powerful. By now, the Dawi army had reached the walls of the kingdom of Dori. The Dawi soldiers once again threw out all sorts of cards, which turned into countless motes of light and spread out, forming a massive green barrier that covered the walls. Facing the green barrier in front of them, the Dawi soldiers loudly roared and gave off boundless yellow power. The yellow power gathered together and formed massive rods. Bang! 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 The massive yellow rods brought with them immense power as they smashed against the azure barrier, causing massive sounds to ring out. The azure barrier started to chaotically tremble, as if it was unable to withstand this terrifying power. Bang, 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 massive sounds once again sounded out as the massive rods gave off terrifying power as they smashed against the azure defensive barrier, causing it to shatter. One by one, the two-way people leaped more than 20 meters before crashing into the city wall. They created a few holes and climbed onto the city wall before rushing up. The Dorian soldiers were terrified and once again threw out cards, which turned into rays of light and shot towards the ground. Bang, 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 azure stone spears containing immense power shot out from the ground incredibly quickly, piercing through the Earthtail soldiers' bodies. Blood flew everywhere as pitiful cries sounded out. This wave of attack caused many casualties to Two-Way country. The soldiers of Two-Way were furious. Their feet gave off an intense yellow light as they stomped on the ground, causing the ground to crack. They rushed into the sky and flew towards the city wall. Some flew onto the city wall and started to fight with the Dorian soldiers, while others smashed into the city wall, creating craters. They then quickly climbed up the city wall. Soon, the Two-Way soldiers had climbed up the city wall and started to fight with the Dorian soldiers. Soon, the Two-Way soldiers had reached the top of the city wall. A Dori Kingdom soldier swung his fist, and a massive power sent a Dori Kingdom soldier flying backwards. The Dori Kingdom soldier flew backwards and coughed up a large mouthful of blood. The Dori Kingdom soldier roared and stabbed his spear into the Dori Kingdom soldier's body. A Two-Way soldier held a massive saber and vigorously slashed, splitting a Dorian soldier in half. A Two-Way soldier gave off massive power as he charged forwards, sending a few Dorian soldiers flying. A Dorian soldier held a massive axe and vigorously swung it, chopping off a Two-Way soldier's head. Another Two-Way soldier slashed another Dorian soldier and sent him flying. The two sides fought intensely and cries continuously sounded out. Blood flew everywhere and there were corpses on the city wall. The outcome was quite obvious. The Dorian kingdom could not stop the Two-Way country. A large number of soldiers were killed. In the end, the Dorian soldiers could not stop them and could only retreat. This meant that the Dorian kingdom had lost, and the Two-Way soldiers ferociously chased after the Dorian soldiers. Suddenly, there were 300,000 or so cavalrymen dressed in azure armor and holding spears riding on warhorses. They gave off immense power as they quickly rushed towards the Two-Way soldiers. The Two-Way soldiers coldly laughed and pressed their hands against the ground. Massive earthen walls giving off powerful auras quickly stretched out from the ground, blocking in front of the Two-Way soldiers. They thought that the earthen walls would be able to easily stop this group of cavalrymen. Now that the other Dorian soldiers were running, this group of cavalrymen was seeking death. The commander of the cavalrymen was a handsome young man. He held a spear and roared, "Charge!" The other soldiers all wielded their spears and burst forth with powerful strength. Their bodies emitted countless rays of green light. These rays of green light formed a huge green cone-shaped body of light, emitting an extremely terrifying power. The cavalrymen quickly galloped on the ground, and the sound of their hooves hitting the ground was like thunder. They were like azure bolts of lightning, giving off an aura that seemed to be able to destroy everything as they charged forward. Bang! 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 The massive earthen walls in front of them were instantly shattered, and rubble flew everywhere. There was no power to stop them at all. The soldiers behind the earthen walls were greatly shocked, and before they could react, they were sent flying by the massive power. They were like gravel that had been swept away, and a massive passageway was created in the two-way army. The two-way soldiers who had been sent flying were either heavily injured or dead. Countless two-way soldiers looked incredibly shocked. They had never thought that the cavalrymen would have such destructive power. They did not dare to underestimate the cavalrymen and gathered their forces to deal with the cavalrymen. In the end, all of the cavalrymen were killed by the two-way soldiers. Looking at the dead cavalrymen, the two-way soldiers felt quite shocked. If there had been more of them, they might have suffered a crushing defeat. This was the first time they had felt how terrifying the cavalrymen in the card world were. Following this, the two-way soldiers did not encounter any resistance, and their army rushed towards the Dorian kingdom, quickly conquering territory. The outcome of the other battlefield was similar to this one. Chapter 2474. After the two-way kingdom destroyed those two small kingdoms, their territory was connected to Qin's territory. In the future, if anyone encountered any problems, they would be able to send troops to help. The surrounding kingdoms started to feel even more terrified. There had only been 30 or so kingdoms here, and now 4 of them had been destroyed. Now they would be the next ones to be destroyed. Now they understood that the two powerful Heaven-Awakened world factions had allied together. They understood that they could not just split up like that or else they would be destroyed. Therefore, they decided to besiege Great Qin and Two-Way Kingdom. The surrounding countries joined hands to surround Great Qin and Two-Way Kingdom. They even built defensive structures. They wanted to ally together and attack the two factions, but they did not have the courage to do so. This was because they guessed that Qin and Two-Way were kingdom-level factions and could send troops at any time. They were only small marquisate kingdoms and dukedom kingdoms, so it would be very difficult for them to defeat these two kingdom-level factions. Moreover, they asked for help from the surrounding kingdoms, but none of them paid any attention. They had long since known about this but decided to wait and see. The lives and deaths of these small kingdoms had nothing to do with them. After the cavalry corps' charge, the Two-Way Kingdom stopped being careless and did not rashly attack. They chose to stabilize themselves for a while. They still remembered that terrifying scene. Even though the cavalry corps only had 300,000 people, millions of two-way soldiers could not stop them. Countless two-way soldiers were thrown high into the air before falling down. The Two-Way Kingdom started to research information about the card world. After conquering the two small kingdoms, they did not kill everyone and chose to subdue the residents of the card world. The benefits of subduing residents were far greater than killing them. They were very grateful for Qin's help and ordered people to send all sorts of gifts and beauties. They were not interested in the women in the card world at all. They were all 3 meters tall and had strong and heavy bodies. If they fell down, they could crush an ordinary person to death. They would only be interested if they were giants or women from the spirit race. Zhao Fu accepted all of the gift. Helping the Two-Way Kingdom this time meant that the Two-Way Kingdom owed Qin a favor. In the future, they would be able to help each other out in this place. Also, Zhao Fu had asked Tue country to release some people from the Knights Guild to help Elena and the others increase their points. The Knights Guild had been issuing quests to rescue the people who were tied up in the two small countries. It would have been difficult for others, but it was easy for Elena and her companions because they had Qin's help. Now, Qin and Tue country were allies, and Qin Haodong had helped them once. It was not a problem for Qin Haodong to release some people from the Knight Union. After that, Zhao Fu discussed with the other generals about the future. Zhao Fu wanted Qin to continue attacking towards the east because the card land was located there. Zhao Fu really wanted to obtain that card land. Perhaps it would be of great help to Qin. The strongest kingdom in the vicinity, the Dragon Kingdom, occupied that place. It was said that the royal families there all had powerful dragon bloodlines. The dragon race could be said to be a powerful creature in any world. Possessing their bloodline and power would be of great help to anyone. If Qin Haodong wanted to obtain the card land, he had to destroy the Dragon Kingdom. Zhao Fu had collected all the information about the Dragon Kingdom. It had a population of more than 400 billion and a military force of 40 billion. It had been founded for more than 620 years and was an old kingdom. Their soldiers also had dragon power, which made them stronger than ordinary soldiers. The most terrifying thing was the Dragon King's knight. Ordinary knights could exert terrifying power, such as what had happened just now. The knights of the two small countries had fought so hard that Tue country had been unable to resist. They had mainly relied on numbers to kill the knight. Those were only the knights of the small countries. The Dragon Kingdom's knights were king-level knights, and their spiritual tools were all high-level spiritual tools, unlike the intermediate spiritual tools that Zhao Fu now had. The horses they rode were not ordinary horses, but horses with dragon blood. When they grew up, their strength would be at stage 4 or 5. The knight's strength was basically at stage 5. The most frightening thing was that the Dragon Kingdom had hired 40 million people. Yes, it was a knight legion with 40 million knights. Hundreds of thousands of cavalrymen were already able to unleash terrifying destructive power, so how terrifying would 40 million cavalrymen be able to unleash power? Just thinking about it made Qin Haodong feel quite terrified. A knight legion could easily destroy an ordinary kingdom in the outer regions of the heaven-awakened world. Right now, Qin was only destroying a few small countries, so he had a great advantage. However, facing a kingdom of the same level, the pressure would be immense. As such, it would be quite difficult for Qin to destroy the Dragon Kingdom. What's more, there was not just one kingdom but many kingdoms. It seemed that the Tue Kingdom and Qin Kingdom did not feel much pressure, but facing those royal kingdom existences, the pressure would be immense. With Qin Kingdom's forces, they could only choose to defend and did not dare to face them head-on. They would not be able to destroy the Dragon Kingdom in a short period of time, and the situation was quite stable. Zhao Fu wondered if he should put aside the matters in the card world for now. Zhao Fu still had to take care of awakening the spirit race's Emperor Star and Art, so it was not as if he had nothing else to do. These things were all quite important and were not small matters. Moreover, that higher being had said that apart from a great thousand world crashing into the heaven-awakened world, there would also be a massive catastrophe. Now that the card world was crashing into the heaven-awakened world, the unknown catastrophe would happen soon. Compared to this, the card world was not a big deal. Zhao Fu decided to put the card world's matters aside and allow his faction to develop for a while. Zhao Fu planned to leave the matters here to Wei Liao. Hilary and Eileen needed to establish a knight legion, and even though Helena and Hisami could help with internal affairs, they still needed a great general to defend them. As for Bai Qi, he was Zhao Fu's most trusted general and could not defend the card world. After Zhao Fu left Qin Kingdom, he would have to defend Qin Kingdom. After giving some simple instructions, Zhao Fu returned to Qin Kingdom. Hilary and the 12 knights were still playing around in Qin Kingdom, and they were quite curious about Qin Kingdom. Zhao Fu called her back to the palace. Is something the matter? Hilary asked as she stood in the palace and looked at Zhao Fu. She had not had enough fun yet and planned to continue playing around in Qin Kingdom. Zhao Fu looked at her and smiled as he asked, "Do you know about Qin Kingdom now?" Peek. Chapter 2475. Hilary said happily, Now I know that Qin is incredibly powerful and has immense potential. There are also many fun things and places to do." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "Don't play for too long. I'm about to leave Qin and head to the Heaven Awakened world's spirit domain. I need you to go back and do some things in the card world." Hilary went up and sat in Zhao Fu's embrace as she hugged Zhao Fu and asked, "What is it? How long will you be gone for?" Zhao Fu replied, "It's something very important. I don't know exactly how long it will be, but it might be a very long time." Hilary replied reluctantly. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "You just need to go and have a look at the card world. Also, you can set up a cavalry corps and come play with Qin whenever you have time. I'll send a general over there, so you don't have to manage too many things." Hilary hugged Zhao Fu and looked at Zhao Fu as she asked, "Which general are you going to send? I feel that someone is very suitable. I get along quite well with her, and I'm not sure if she'll be able to defend the card world." Zhao Fu felt quite surprised. He had never thought that Hilary would become good friends with someone in Qin in just a few days. He smiled and asked, "What's her name?" Hilary happily replied, "She's called Tina Pendragon. The first time I met her, I felt a sense of familiarity and closeness, and we became friends. Even though she doesn't walk the path of a knight, the things that she believes in are similar to the path of a knight." Zhao Fu thought about it. Tina Pendragon walked the path of a king and believed in justice, light, vows, bravery, love, and many other things. She also had 10 knights by her side. The card world was like the ancient Western world, and this suited Tina Pendragon quite well. Moreover, Tina Pendragon's power was quite similar to that of the other side. If they went there, perhaps Tina Pendragon's power would become even more powerful. Zhao Fu smiled and ordered people to call Tina Pendragon over. Tina Pendragon, who had long blonde hair and azure eyes, and was wearing a silver-white knight's dress, arrived in the hall. When she saw Hilary in Zhao Fu's arms, she was not surprised. After being Zhao Fu's woman for so long, she understood Zhao Fu quite well and smiled as she said, "Husband, it's not a big deal. Is there something you need from me?" Hilary felt quite startled. She had never thought that Tina Pendragon would also be Zhao Fu's woman, as she had never mentioned this before. Zhao Fu smiled and said, "Come up, I have something to tell you." Tina Pendragon's face became slightly red as she went up and sat in Zhao Fu's embrace and said softly, "Husband, I'm quite worried about you." "What's the matter?" Zhao Fu hugged Tina Pendragon and said with a smile, "I feel that the card world is very suitable for you to develop there, so I'll let you guard there first. With your ability, it shouldn't be a problem." A trace of a smile appeared on Tina Pendragon's face as she said, "Husband, I was just about to tell you about this. The card world is quite similar to my power, and I really like the knights there. As such, I want to go to the card world to develop." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "Since you also think that way, I have no objections." Seeing how close Zhao Fu and Tina Pendragon were, Hilary felt a bit jealous. She hugged Zhao Fu and said coquettishly, "Husband." Seeing her like this, Zhao Fu lightly laughed. Tina Pendragon also revealed a trace of a smile. Following this, Zhao Fu had them leave. He gathered the ministers and told them that he was going to leave Qin City and go to the spirit realm. The ministers nodded seriously and felt a bit heavy in their hearts. In the future, they would have to be very careful in Qin City. They had great confidence in Zhao Fu. When Zhao Fu was in Qin City, no matter what difficulties there were, they believed that Zhao Fu would be able to lead them to resist. If Zhao Fu left, their confidence would not be as strong, and all of Qin City revolved around Zhao Fu. After the ministers left, Zhao Fu prepared to go to the domain. Roar! A massive dragon's roar sounded out in all directions, and the dragon race bloodline within Zhao Fu's body became scorching hot. Zhao Fu's expression froze, and after thinking for a moment, he smiled and flew to the side. Zhao Fu came to a platform and saw an enormous gold and silver pillar of light in front of him. It seemed to reach into the sky, and it gave off a massive shockwave that continuously spread out in all directions. It was as if it could topple mountains and overturn seas, and it was simply unstoppable. All of Qin City sensed this extremely terrifying dragon power, and countless people's bodies slightly trembled. Expressions of terror appeared on their faces as they looked in that direction. All of the wyverns within the domain of Qin City felt an immense pressure and did not dare to fly in the sky. They obediently lay on the ground and looked in that direction, as if some terrifying thing from the dragon race had appeared. The nearby alliances, the Aeolian Empire, and even the kingdoms further away all sensed this massive dragon power. What is Qin City plotting? Ever since Qin had destroyed the Devil Horn Empire, it had been a long time since he had done anything, and everyone was wary of what Qin City was plotting. Now that they sensed the terrifying shockwaves that Qin gave off, everyone felt incredibly shocked and worried. Right now, Qin City was simply too terrifying. When Zhao Fu had returned from the boundless void, he had brought back many things, including a dragon soul crystal. This dragon soul crystal was a higher being grade dragon soul crystal, and it contained massive amounts of dragon power. Now, Qin City had two types of dragon dens, the Wyvern Den and the Splendor Knight Silver Dragon Denver. Qin City had been developing the Wyvern Den this entire time, so Qin City had many wyverns. However, Qin City had obtained the Splendor Knight Silver Dragon Den quite late, and it was a top-tier Stage 8 dragon species, so it took a long time to respawn, so there were not many of them. Zhao Fu chose to fuse the higher being grade dragon soul into the Splendor Knight Silver Dragon Den, as the Wyvern Den's grade was too low. After Zhao Fu's dragon soul fused into the Splendor Knight Silver Dragon Den, the den had started to go through changes, and it had only just finished. It was because these were higher being grade ripples that they gave off such terrifying ripples. Higher beings could be said to be top-tier existences in the heaven-awakened world. Heaven and earth power quickly flowed in, creating a massive attractive force. Countless traces of power flowed into the top of the pillar of light, causing the power that the top of the pillar of light gave off to become stronger and stronger. It was as if it could destroy the heavens and earth, and even the void started to twist. Roar! A massive dragon's roar sounded out in all directions, shaking the world. An incredibly terrifying dragon's might spread out, covering the surroundings. Countless people felt their bodies sink as if they had fallen into an abyss. Intense terror flowed out from their hearts, and their bodies violently trembled. The people around Qin City saw that the entirety of Qin City was covered by a golden-silver light and gave off terrifying ripples. They felt incredibly shocked and did not know what was happening. Peak. Chapter 2476. At the top of the massive pillar of light, a pair of massive dragon wings stretched out. The wings were completely silver, but there were some golden dragon inscriptions on them. Following this, a massive dragon head stretched out of the pillar of light. The dragon head was long and slender, and it looked elegant and beautiful. It was completely silver, and its eyes were pure gold. There were 6 pairs of dragon horns on its head, and the one in the middle was the largest and longest, while the ones on the sides were slightly smaller. Following this, the dragon's tail grew out from its back. It was very long and slender, and the tip of the tail was forked. Finally, a massive dragon appeared in the sky, seeming like a supreme ruler. It gave off an incredibly terrifying dragon aura, and there were also countless rays of intense gold and silver light that covered the entire world. By now, the massive pillar of light had disappeared. Zhao Fu stood at the front and looked at the massive dragon as he smiled. Just from this aura, he could tell that this was not a top-tier Stage 8 dragon, and it was not the Splendor Knight Silver Dragon from before. This dragon looked quite different from the Splendor Knight Silver Dragon, and it was much more noble, powerful, and elegant. The dragon in the sky looked down at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu's expression became serious. This dragon was not something condensed from a heaven and earth abnormal phenomenon, but it had its own consciousness. Zhao Fu quickly realized that this dragon's consciousness most likely came from the Holy Dragon Crystal. The Dragon Crystal contained a great deal of a dragon's power, and it was the most important thing to a dragon. The Dragon Crystal that Zhao Fu had obtained contained a remnant soul of a dragon, and this remnant soul was most likely the owner of the Dragon Crystal. Now that this dragon soul had used the den to condense a dragon's body, Zhao Fu hoped that this would not cause any abnormal phenomena to the Splendor Knight den facing the dragon's gaze. Zhao Fu did not feel any fear, and the terrifying pair of eyes met his gaze. "Who are you?" the dragon said in a cold and arrogant man's voice. Zhao Fu smiled domineeringly as he said, "I'm the Emperor of the Qin Empire, and I'm your master." The dragon's gaze became cold. It had once been a higher being, and even though it had become much weaker, it could not accept someone who was far weaker than it becoming its master. This was a humiliation. "Don't think that I can't kill you just because you control the lair." Zhao Fu was not afraid. With a smile on his face, he said in a provocative tone, "You can try." Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the dragon gave off a massive power. Its body twisted as if it wanted to break free from something. His body was formed with the help of the nest, and the main part of his body was the Splendor Knight Silver Dragon. Zhao Fu was the master of the nest, and the Splendor Knight Silver Dragons had all kinds of restrictions in their bodies, so they had to listen to Zhao Fu's orders. At that moment, the dragon broke free from the restriction and wanted to attack Zhao Fu. As a former almighty being, he could not stand Zhao Fu's provocation. People with powers like Zhao Fu's, he had eaten countless of them in the past. Boom, boom, boom. The dragon continued to erupt with tremendous power as its body twisted in the sky, giving off terrifying ripples as it tried to break free from the seals within its body. However, the seals were not so easy to break free from, and the dragon's body was mainly made up of the Splendor Knight Silver Dragon's body. However, he had the ability to break free. Now, there were more and more golden dragon inscriptions on his body, and the seals were becoming smaller. It would take him a few hours to break free from the seals within his body. Looking at the dragon continuously struggling in the sky, Zhao Fu gave a cold smile as he raised a hand and vigorously grabbed out. Countless traces of violet light spread out from the sky, instantly dyeing the entire sky violet and covering the light that the dragon gave off. A supreme dragon race power that ruled over all things spread out from the sky. The dragon was greatly startled and looked in disbelief. Boom! At that moment, a shocking explosion sounded out as a massive violet star giving off heaven-toppling might descended from the sky, landing on the massive dragon's body. Even though the dragon looked quite massive and was 100,000 meters long, it seemed quite small compared to the violet star. The dragon was unable to withstand this power at all, and its body started to collapse. The dragon furiously roared before turning into countless motes of light that flowed into the den below. It had never thought that Zhao Fu would have the Devil Race's Supreme Emperor Star, and it was a Dragon Race's Supreme Emperor Star. Zhao Fu put away the Devil Race's Supreme Emperor Star and smiled as he walked towards the Denver. This dragon was simply seeking death, and it had dared to attack Zhao Fu. It still had a portion of its higher being's power, but it was already quite weak. Moreover, its body was formed from the den, so Zhao Fu could suppress it. Now that the dragon's remnant soul had been destroyed by Zhao Fu, it had truly died, and Zhao Fu did not want his den to be affected. Now that the den had absorbed that dragon's soul power, perhaps it would be able to give birth to a den dragon in the future. After coming to the den, Zhao Fu looked at the den's stats. Now, the den was not called the Splendor Knight Silver Dragon Den but Golden Knight Heavenly Dragon. It was not a top-grade Stage 8 dragon but a Saint Realm dragon. What was key was that it could spawn 5 Golden Knight Heavenly Dragons per day, which meant that it could spawn 50 in 10 days, 500 in 100 days, and 5,000 in 1,000 days. This was incredibly fast. Back then, a top-grade Stage 8 Splendor Knight Silver Dragon would only spawn 1 every half a month, but now, Saint Realm Golden Knight Heavenly Dragons could spawn 5 every day. Moreover, normally, it would take decades to nurture a Saint Realm expert, as well as all sorts of resources and treasures. Now, as long as one had a den, they could spawn 5 Saint Realm dragons every day. Ordinary empires definitely did not have such a high-grade dragon den, and it was incredibly rare in the dragon race. It was an incredibly precious treasure. If the dragon race knew that Zhao Fu had such a treasure, they would most likely send out higher-being dragons to snatch it. Zhao Fu had fused the higher-being dragon crystal into it, and Zhao Fu was very satisfied with the dragon race's effects. As for how to use the Golden Knight Heavenly Dragon, Zhao Fu already had a plan. Zhao Fu felt that the wyverns were enough, and he had nurtured all sorts of ice and fire dragons, insect den dragons, and mechanical wyverns. Zhao Fu wanted to use the Golden Knight Heavenly Dragon as a mount for his cavalry corps and nurture a dragon cavalry corps. The strength of a cavalry corps was related to the mount, and a dragon cavalry corps made of Saint Realm dragons would be far more powerful than other cavalry corps. Top. Chapter 2477. The Golden Knight Sky Dragon had 2 attributes. One was the Darkness attribute, which was a high-grade night power. The other was the Light attribute, which was a terrifying top-tier power called the Golden Radiance power. This was the power of the Golden Radiance, which was the power of the Almighty Dragon, and it had now fused with the power of the Splendor Knight Silver Dragon. With these 2 powers, the Golden Knight Sky Dragon would definitely be more powerful than an ordinary Sage-level dragon. Right now, the Golden Knight Heavenly Dragon lair still needed some time to develop on its own. Zhao Fu put it aside for now and handed it over to someone else to manage. After that, Zhao Fu officially stepped on the road to Spirit Realm. The Spirit Realm was quite far from the human realm. If he took a detour, he would have to cross 3 large realms, so Zhao Fu chose to go through the Heaven Realm, which was the central realm, to reach the Spirit Realm on the other side. This part of the journey was not short, so it would probably take a lot of time. Half a month later, Zhao Fu used the teleportation formation the entire time without resting. Finally, he arrived at the Heaven Domain. After half a month of arduous travel, Zhao Fu felt quite tired. After arriving at the Heaven Domain, he found an inn to rest in. After a simple wash, Zhao Fu sat in the lobby of the inn and ate. Many people were drinking and chatting around him. Zhao Fu listened carefully to see if he could obtain any useful information. Zhao Fu did not know what was happening in the Heaven Domain. From the discussions of the others, Zhao Fu learned that there were 2 types of news. The first was a battle between the Heaven Awaken world and the Card world. The Heaven Awaken world's focus had shifted from the Alchemy world to the Card world. The Godly world and Underworld's participation had indeed reduced the pressure on the Heaven Awaken world, and the situation in the Chaos battlefield was quite stable. Both sides continued to attack each other, and the Heaven Awaken world relied on their numbers to defend against the Alchemy world's attack. They were not as passive as before. The battle in the Card world had gone quite smoothly, causing the Heaven Awaken world to agree. They felt that the Card world was not a very powerful world, so the Card world had retaliated and caused great losses to the Heaven Awaken world. Now that the 2 sides were in a stalemate, no one had much of an advantage. There were also some who talked about the various magical cards in the Card world. Some people had obtained quite a few, but unfortunately they could not use them. The second type of news was that all of the factions in the Heaven Domain were gathering resources, and they felt that something bad was about to happen. Hearing this, Zhao Fu immediately thought of the disaster that the higher being had mentioned. Not only did that higher being know about it, but the other large factions also knew about it and were making all sorts of preparations. Many of the major powers were prepared and had the strength to deal with the future. However, the smaller powers were powerless. They didn't even know what was going to happen. When Zhao Fu saw that the various major powers had begun their preparations, he understood that he did not have much time left. So, after resting for a while in the inn, he continued on his way. Wait! Not too long after, Zhao Fu was suddenly called out by a voice behind him. He felt that this voice was quite familiar, and he didn't know where he had heard it before. Zhao Fu stopped and turned to look behind him. He saw a young man smiling at him. He had a handsome face, a pair of devilish violet eyes, and a head of jet black hair. His body was very slender and fit, and he wore white clothes that revealed his chest. Every muscle on his body was very well proportioned, and he did not look exaggerated or weak. He gave off a powerful, masculine aura. Seeing him frown, a bad image appeared in Zhao Fu's mind. This person in front of him was someone from Emperor Path College, and he was a famous person called Violet Cloud. On his way to Emperor Path College, he had unintentionally entered a hot spring, which was Ziyun's place. Ziyun was sitting with 10 or so handsome men, doing indescribable things. The same image appeared in Zhao Fu's mind. Back then, Zhao Fu had been quite weak and had been captured by Ziyun. If it wasn't for the 6 desires demonic qi, Zhao Fu might have been ravaged by Ziyun. Zhao Fu had never thought that he would meet him here. Now, Ziyun's cultivation was at the peak of the Emperor Heaven Realm, and he was just a bit away from the Void Realm. The masculine aura he gave off was even more intense, and there were 7 or 8 bewitchingly dressed beautiful men behind him. In just a few years, Ziyun had never thought that the person he could casually kill back then would become an Emperor Heaven Realm expert, and not just an ordinary Emperor Heaven Realm expert at that. Zhao Fu did not fear him, and he gave a trace of a smile as he asked, "What is it?" Ziyun gave a trace of an evil smile as he said, "I feel that you're someone I'm familiar with, someone I can only dream about. Someone who likes to wear a cloak but has a devastatingly beautiful face." Zhao Fu immediately felt quite disgusted. If it was a woman praising him, it would not be wrong, but it was a man. "I think you've mistaken me for someone else. I'm not that person. Also, don't talk to me like that." Ziyun lightly laughed as he said, "Is that so? I feel that your voice and tone are very similar to him. How about you take off your cloak and let me have a look?" "Don't worry, I won't harm anyone I like." Zhao Fu refused, saying, "No, is there anything else? I'll be going now." Now, Zhao Fu did not want to waste too much time with Ziyun, and he felt quite disgusted and repulsed. Ziyun teasingly smiled as he said, "Now I like you. No matter if you're him or not, you'll belong to me. Look at the women around me. I've never mistreated them. As long as they become my wives, I'll give them anything they want." Zhao Fu's gaze became slightly cold as he said, "Are you forcing me to teach you a lesson?" Before Ziyun could speak, a beautifully dressed man beside him said in a feminine voice, "It's your fortune that our husband likes you. Do you know who our husband is? If you knew, you'd definitely obediently crawl over to serve our husband." Another beautifully dressed man also said in a feminine voice, "I'd advise you to be more well-behaved and not make our husband angry, or else we'll properly teach you a lesson later." Ziyun smiled as he said, "Don't say any more, I'm not a vulgar man anymore." The more he resists, the more I'll feel a sense of accomplishment conquering him. Zhao Fu could not stand the people in front of him. He raised a hand and gathered power in front of his palm. 3 black rays of light containing immense power quickly shot towards Ziyun and the 2 men who had spoken. Ziyun smiled and waved his hand, causing a violet energy barrier to appear and cover Ziyun and the two men. Bang! 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 3 explosions rang out as the 3 beams of light smashed against the defensive barrier with immense power, causing many cracks to appear on the barrier. Ziyun's expression became serious as he looked at Zhao Fu and said, "You're indeed not simple." Chapter 2478. Zhao Fu said coldly, "Be smart and piss off." Ziyun suddenly lightly laughed and said, "I like people like you like this." Boom! An explosion sounded out and Zhao Fu did not waste any words. He gave off a massive aura and rushed at Ziyun incredibly quickly. He arrived in front of Ziyun and vigorously punched towards him. Even though Ziyun had a smile on his face, his heart became serious. A massive amount of violet qi rose up from his body, and a massive wave of power flowed out. Facing Zhao Fu's punch, Ziyun vigorously slammed out with his palm. Bang! An explosion sounded out as the fist and palm collided with immense power. A powerful shock wave blasted out in all directions, causing the ground to instantly shatter. The 7 or 8 beautiful men behind Ziyun looked quite shocked and retreated a few steps. They had never thought that Zhao Fu would be so powerful. The 2 of them stood in a stalemate, and Ziyun's palm gave off a massive amount of yang energy to block Zhao Fu's fist as he looked at Zhao Fu seriously. Zhao Fu looked at Ziyun and gave off a trace of coldness as he said, "To me, your strength is only average." Boom! An explosion once again sounded out as a massive wave of power flowed out from Zhao Fu's body, and Zhao Fu vigorously pushed out with his fist. Bang! A muffled explosion sounded out as Ziyun's body was slammed by a massive wave of power, forcing him back a few steps. His expression became quite unsightly because he found that Zhao Fu's strength was perhaps even greater than his. Countless traces of black aura flames rose up from Zhao Fu's body, and Zhao Fu's fist continuously gathered the black aura flames, forming a terrifying dragon head that gave off shocking power. Boom! Zhao Fu punched out and a black aura flame dragon gave off massive power as it ferociously rushed towards Ziyun. Ziyun's expression fell and a massive wave of yang energy flowed into his hand. His hand gave off an intense violet light and gave off a powerful aura as he vigorously slammed towards the black dragon. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as the black dragon formed from the black aura flames collided with the palm that gave off countless rays of violet light. A massive explosion blasted out, destroying the ground and buildings in the surrounding hundreds of meters. A massive explosion sounded out as rocks flew everywhere and dust filled the air. The people in the surroundings were terrified and hurriedly hid far away. Many pairs of eyes looked over and felt that the 2 people in front of them were very terrifying. Ziyun was knocked back a dozen meters by Zhao Fu's attack. He looked at Zhao Fu with a more serious expression. He was now sure that Zhao Fu was stronger than him, but he would not admit defeat so easily. Ziyun looked at Zhao Fu and said seriously, "I'm looking forward to fighting you." Boom! A massive explosion once again sounded out as Ziyun exploded out with all of his power, forming a violet shockwave that instantly spread out. All of the buildings in the surrounding 1,000 meters were destroyed. Ziyun's clothes were turned into countless pieces by that shockwave, revealing his well-built upper body. A violet circular mark appeared on his forehead, and countless traces of violet aura flowed out and wrapped around his waist and arms, forming a violet ribbon. His body gave off a violet light, and he gave off an incredibly powerful aura. Swish! Ziyun's body instantly disappeared and reappeared above Zhao Fu's head, his palm containing immense power as it blasted towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu's body leapt backwards. Bang! A massive sound rang out as Ziyun's palm slammed into the ground, and it was as if a massive hammer had smashed into the ground, causing a large crater to appear in the ground. Zhao Fu was sent flying by that immense power, and he landed stably on the ground as he looked at Ziyun. As a famous expert in Emperor Path College, His strength could not be underestimated. Ziyun turned and saw that Zhao Fu had easily dodged his attack. His body gave off a powerful yang energy as he ferociously rushed at Zhao Fu. Boom! Ziyun slammed his palm forwards, and a massive energy seemed to cause the air to explode as he quickly blasted towards Zhao Fu. Facing this power, Zhao Fu understood that he would not be able to defend against it with his current strength, so he lightly cried out, "Celestial mode, activate!" Boom! A massive rainbow-colored aura flame erupted around Zhao Fu's body as a rainbow-colored circular magic formation appeared on his forehead. A rainbow-colored rune circle appeared around Zhao Fu, and a massive gale spread out. Bang! The massive energy blasted towards Zhao Fu, while the rainbow-colored rune circle around Zhao Fu gave off a powerful aura and started to spin, easily blocking that massive energy. Ziyun's expression became serious as he continuously slammed out palm after palm towards Zhao Fu, sending terrifying waves of energy towards Zhao Fu as if they could shatter a mountain. Zhao Fu's eyes gave off a rainbow-colored light as he looked at Ziyun in front of him. A massive wave of energy entered the rainbow-colored rune circle, causing it to give off a massive wave of energy and quickly spin. Bang! 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 The massive waves of energy were deflected by a formless energy and slammed into the ground around Zhao Fu. Each wave blasted open a large hole, but they did not harm Zhao Fu at all. The people in the surroundings looked at the two people fighting in shock. Sensing the auras that continuously spread out, they understood that they were Emperor Heaven Realm experts. The city's soldiers and city lords had long since arrived, but they did not dare to get close because they recognized Ziyun. They knew how terrifying Ziyun's identity was, so they did not dare to go up and stop him. Even though they did not know who the other person was, they felt that since he dared to fight with Ziyun, his status was definitely not low. Arg! Seeing that he was unable to break through Zhao Fu's defenses even after attacking so many times, Ziyun roared and a massive wave of energy flowed out. He slammed out with both palms, causing a terrifying wave of energy to flow out and turn into a pair of massive violet palms that slammed towards Zhao Fu. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as the pair of massive violet palms gave off immense power as they slammed against the rune circle. Zhao Fu sent a massive wave of energy into the rune circle, causing it to quickly spin. The violet palms slowly twisted and turned into two waves of violet energy that flew to the sides and dissipated. Zhao Fu said, "It's my turn now." Boom! A massive wave of energy spread out from Zhao Fu's body, and the rune circle spread out, turning into runes around Zhao Fu. They gave off boundless light and formed 30-centimeter-long swords of light. An incomparably terrifying sword energy spread out, seeming as if it could destroy everything. There was nothing that could block it. Sensing this terrifying power, Ziyun felt quite startled. At that moment, Zhao Fu looked at Ziyun and slowly stretched out a hand and pressed forwards. Swish, 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 the sound of the air being torn could be heard as the swords of light gave off terrifying power as they shot towards Ziyun incredibly quickly, leaving behind traces in the air as if they could destroy everything. Boom! Boom! Chapter 2479. Ziyun gave off a massive wave of power and sent it into the ribbon around his waist. The two ends of the ribbon gave off immense power, and it quickly danced, leaving behind afterimages. It was impossible to tell how many there were. Bang! Bang! Massive sounds rang out as the swords of light were shattered by the ribbon, and a powerful sword energy spread out, causing sword gashes to appear on the ground. Even though Ziyun's ribbon had blocked Zhao Fu's swords of light, his body was continuously pushed back. Boom! A massive wave of power flowed out from Zhao Fu's outstretched hand, and the 30-centimeter-long swords of light quickly formed a 3-meter-long rainbow sword of light that gave off terrifying sword energy as it flew forwards. Bang! A loud sound rang out as the 7-colored sword of light collided with an afterimage. The afterimage disappeared in an instant, and Zi Yun's body was hit by a huge force. His body was sent flying, and he coughed up a large mouthful of blood. Everyone stared at this scene in shock. Zi Yun's identity was not only terrifying, but he was also a famous expert from Emperor Path College. He was quite famous in the human domain, and yet he was not a match for that person. Just who was that person? To be able to defeat a peerless genius like Zi Yun, that person was definitely a peerless genius. However, no one had ever seen such a genius before. Boom! A massive explosion suddenly sounded out as Zi Yun looked furious as he half squatted on the ground and glared at Zhao Fu. Large amounts of violet aura rose up from his body, covering the surrounding hundreds of meters. Countless strands of purple aura continuously condensed, forming 99 muscular, slender men who were not wearing any clothes. Every single one of them gave off an extremely powerful aura. Boom! Zi Yun controlled the 99 men, and they gave off incredibly masculine auras as they charged at Zhao Fu. They brought with them terrifying gales that caused the ground to crack as if they could destroy an entire world. Zhao Fu did not move at all and grabbed at the air with his hand. Countless runes flashed with light and countless traces of heaven and earth power flooded out, forming a sword of light that gave off a celestial sword's power. Bang! When the 99 men gave off massive auras and rushed in front of Zhao Fu's expression did not change at all. He vigorously slashed out with his sword, and a massive rainbow-colored sword energy slashed against the men's bodies, resulting in a massive explosion. The 99 men were reduced to countless fragments by the rainbow sword light and dissipated. The rainbow sword energy continued towards Zi Yun, sending him flying and leaving a 1,000-meter-long sword mark on the ground. Zi Yun's body fell to the ground. There was a long and thin wound on his chest, and blood kept flowing out. Zhao Fu walked over to Violet Cloud and pointed his sword of light at him as he said, "You've lost." Zi Yun had an ugly smile on his face. "I've lost this time. I admit that you're stronger than me. Also, who are you? Why does it give me a familiar feeling?" Zhao Fu put away his sword of light, which turned into countless motes of light and disappeared as he calmly replied, "Do you think I'll tell you?" Seeing Zhao Fu put away his sword of light, Zi Yun inwardly let out a sigh of relief and lightly laughed as he said, "Since you can't be my beloved wife, how about I become your beloved wife? I can divorce all the other men for you." Zhao Fu felt quite speechless and looked at Zi Yun as he said, "I'm not interested in that sort of thing. Also, if you say another word, I'll kill you right now." Right now, Zhao Fu felt that there was no need to kill him. There was no great enmity between them, and killing him would only bring him more trouble. Zi Yun lay on the ground and lightly laughed as he said, all right, I won't say any more. I really want to know your identity." Zhao Fu turned and walked in another direction as he said, "I'm not interested in talking to you anymore." Zi Yun hurriedly called out, "Wait." Zhao Fu frowned and turned to look at Zi Yun as he said, "If you really want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." Zi Yun immediately smiled as he said, "That's not what I meant. Since you don't like men, you probably like women, right? In actuality, my art can transform extreme yang and unyielding power into extreme yin and gentle power. When that time comes, I'll become a woman. With my looks, I can rank in the top 10 in the human domain, and this will be my first time. As long as you promise me, I'll become a woman and follow you." Become a woman? Zhao Fu looked at Zi Yun in confusion. He had never thought that this fellow would suddenly say such a thing. Moreover, he had never thought that apart from liking men, this fellow could also easily become a man or a woman. Zi Yun's name felt like it was a gender-neutral name. It seemed that there was a reason for this name. Now that Zi Yun was a man, he was incredibly handsome and had a masculine aura. Adding on his perfect figure, countless women would like him. If he became a woman, he would most likely be extremely beautiful and would rank in the top 10 in the human domain. However, no matter how devastatingly beautiful he was, Zhao Fu would not be interested. Even though Zhao Fu loved beauties, he would not want just anyone. Zhao Fu had forgotten that Ziyun was a man just because he had become a woman. Moreover, Zhao Fu had personally seen him do it with other men. This was something that Zhao Fu could not accept. However, thinking about becoming a woman and joining his six desires demonic art, if he could not resolve this issue, he would also become a woman. Just thinking about it made him feel quite terrified. Zhao Fu said to Ziyun, "I'm not interested in you, so don't say any more. Also, I have some matters to attend to, so I'll be leaving now." After saying this, Zhao Fu prepared to leave. Ziyun did not give up and looked at Zhao Fu sincerely as he said, "I really want to know your identity, please tell me." Zhao Fu turned to look at Ziyun and said, "Didn't you already guess it?" Hearing this, Ziyun did not react at first, but his heart trembled and he stared at Zhao Fu with wide eyes. No wonder he felt that Zhao Fu was so attractive and familiar, it really was him. Ziyun's heart was filled with excitement. It was an indescribable joy, and he was just about to say something. Just as he was about to say something, Zhao Fu did not want to continue chatting with him and turned into a ray of light and disappeared over the horizon. Seeing Zhao Fu disappear, Ziyun immediately looked disappointed. However, thinking about it, he still felt quite excited. He had never thought that he would have the chance to meet Zhao Fu again. He had also never thought that in just a few years, Zhao Fu would become so powerful. He had defeated him so easily, and he felt that Zhao Fu had not even used his full strength. However, thinking about how much of a commotion he had caused in the Heaven-awakened world and how the entire world was looking for him, it was not too surprising that he had grown so quickly. "Husband, are you all right?" A few coquettish men walked over and asked with concern. Ziyun looked at them and made a decision. He gave a trace of a smile as he said, "You can all leave. I can go wherever I want. You're not here, so you belong to me." Chapter 2480. Husband, what's wrong? Did we do something wrong? The beautiful men said in a panic. It was evident that they did not want to be separated from Ziyun. Ziyun smiled and said, "I want to go find my true love." The beautiful men understood Ziyun's intentions, and extremely disappointed expressions appeared on their faces. They did not dare to force Ziyun any further. Ziyun stood up from the ground and looked at the bewitching men. He waved his hand and a few rings flew over to them as he smiled and said, "You've followed me for so long, so I won't mistreat you. There are some treasures in this storage ring. Take them." The beautiful men nodded lightly and picked up the rings floating in front of them. Ziyun did not hold back at all and turned into a violet ray of light as he disappeared over the horizon. An hour later, Ziyun appeared within a mountain cave and sat cross-legged on the ground. His body gave off countless traces of violet aura. This was the first time Ziyun had done something like this, so he had to be very careful and could not allow anything to go wrong. The violet aura continuously flowed out from Ziyun's body and wrapped around him, forming a violet ball of mist that covered Ziyun's body. Countless traces of violet aura flowed out and the ball of mist gradually became corporeal, becoming a violet orb. Within the orb, Ziyun gave off an extremely firm and yang aura, and there was an orb of violet flame within his body. This orb of flame was the source of Ziyun's power. The violet flame also gave off an extremely firm and yang aura, but following this, Ziyun placed his hands before his chest and performed a few hand seals, causing the orb of violet flame to go through changes. A blue tongue of flame appeared within the violet flame, and an extremely soft and yin aura started to spread out. The blue flame continuously became bigger and bigger, while the violet flame continuously became smaller and smaller. The power that the violet aura gave off also became smaller and smaller. Ziyun's body started to change. His long black hair became violet and his extremely handsome face gradually became that of a woman's. His violet eyes became a pair of sapphire-like blue eyes. His slender and muscular body also started to change. His muscles disappeared and his skin became white and smooth, and a pair of massive things grew out from his chest. Finally, the violet orb split open and countless traces of blue light shined out. A woman who looked even more beautiful than a celestial fairy appeared. She had a peerlessly beautiful face and a tall and mature figure. Her breasts were incredibly large and alluring, and she gave off an enchanting and gentle aura that could move countless men. Now, Zi Yun's appearance had greatly changed, and it was as if she was a completely different person. She had been right before. With her current looks, she would definitely rank in the top 10 in the human domain. She was many times more beautiful than when she was a man. Next was her figure. Her figure was completely different from before and did not have any muscles at all. It was snow white and smooth, and it had a lustrous luster to it. The most shocking thing was that Zi Yun's chest had undergone such a huge change. It was truly astonishing. Zi Yun chuckled as she looked at the changes in herself. Her voice had changed as well. It had become extremely soft, the kind of voice that could make a man's heart beat faster with just a few words. Following this, Zi Yun put on a light blue robe and chased after Zhao Fu. She also changed her name to Lan Yu. After leaving the city, Zhao Fu continued on his way to Spirit Realm. At this time, Zhao Fu was flying in the sky towards another empire. He wanted to use this empire's teleportation formation to teleport to a further place. If the teleportation formations of the various empires were connected, Zhao Fu felt that the time it would take to reach Spirit Realm would be reduced by 70%. Most of the time would be spent flying through the border regions. It was a pity that the teleportation formations of the various empires could not be connected. If one empire used the teleportation formation to attack another empire, it would be very dangerous, as it could directly teleport into the empire. Boom! A massive explosion suddenly sounded out. Zhao Fu's expression froze, and he stopped and looked to the side. This explosion seemed to be caused by a battle, and it was not far from him. Who was fighting here? The person who was fighting didn't look weak either. Zhao Fu thought about it and decided not to go. Other people's battles had nothing to do with him, so Zhao Fu decided to continue flying. Clang! A massive sword hum suddenly sounded out, and a sword light containing terrifying power slashed towards Zhao Fu from the distance. It was incredibly fast, and it happened in an instant. Zhao Fu stretched out a hand, and a massive wave of power flowed out of his palm as a black defensive barrier appeared. Bang! A massive sound rang out as the sword light slammed into the defensive barrier, turning into a massive wave of sword wind that blew out. The defensive barrier was not damaged at all. Zhao Fu frowned. This sword light was not attacking him, but he had been hit by the shockwaves. It was as if one person had attacked another person, and the attack was so powerful that the people nearby had been hit by the shockwave. Zhao Fu felt that this wave of power was quite familiar, and he did not hesitate for long. Zhao Fu flew to the side. He saw a beautiful woman in green with a sharp aura. She held a green sword and was fighting with a white-clothed, domineering-looking young man. Zhao Fu had never thought that these two people knew each other and had enmity with each other. The woman was called Jian Luyue, and she was Jian Yue's little sister. Zhao Fu had almost been captured by her big sister, Jian Yue. Her big sister was incredibly powerful and had comprehended a powerful sword intent. She was also an Emperor Heaven Realm expert and was even more powerful than Violet Cloud. Back then, Zhao Fu had used her to fight with Feng Qianghua to escape. The man was called Song Kongyue, and he was the 9th emperor of the Tsang Sky Empire. He was incredibly powerful and could enter the top 30 of the human domain's new rankings. During the examination at the entrance of the Emperor Path College, because his wife had looked at Zhao Fu, Song Kongyue had wanted to kill Zhao Fu, but he had been stopped by his wife. Zhao Fu had some impression of his wife. She was a peerlessly beautiful woman in a pink palace dress, and she had an alluring figure. She was called Xiang Qianqian and cultivated a terrifying charm technique. Why are they fighting here? Zhao Fu felt quite surprised and thought about it. He had met a few students from the Emperor Path College here, so he took out his map and found that he was quite close to the Emperor Path College. Speaking of the Emperor Path College, Zhao Fu could not help but think of the higher being who had helped him greatly. Should he go and personally thank him? This could be quite dangerous. This was the Emperor Path College, and it had countless experts. On the surface, there were 9 higher beings, and if his identity was exposed, he would not even have a chance to escape. Top. Chapter 2481. Zhao Fu trusted that higher being. If he wanted to expose his identity, he would have done so long ago. However, he had been hiding it for him this entire time. Seeing Zhao Fu suddenly appear, the two people stopped. This was mainly because Jian Yue had stopped. In the previous battle, Jian Yue had a great advantage, while Song Kongyue was at a disadvantage. Jian Yue thought that Zhao Fu had come to help Song Kongyue, so she said coldly, "Leave immediately or I'll chop off your head." Blood flowed out of Song Kongyue's mouth as he looked at Zhao Fu and said domineeringly, "Help me defeat that stinky woman and you'll be rewarded handsomely." Zhao Fu came back to his senses and looked at the two people, and could not help but laugh. Song Kongyue felt quite furious and said, "What are you laughing at, you bastard? Do you know who this person is?" Jian Yue came to her senses and realized that Zhao Fu was not here to help Song Kongyue, but someone who Song Kongyue knew. Zhao Fu laughed as he replied, "I'm laughing at how you don't know your place. Do you know that you're seeking death?" Hearing Zhao Fu's words, the two people's expressions changed. It seemed that this person's identity was not simple, and he seemed to know them. For him to dare to speak to them like that, his identity must be quite terrifying. Jian Yue's expression was cold as she asked, "Who are you?" Zhao Fu turned and smiled as he looked at Jian Yue and said, "I don't think you know me, but there's a feud between me and your big sister." Jian Yue felt quite startled. Since there was a feud between him and her big sister, it was possible that he was her big sister's enemy. Since he could become her big sister's enemy, it was possible that he was much more powerful than her. Song Kongyue inwardly let out a sigh of relief. Since there was a feud between him and Jian Yue, it meant that they had a common enemy. His tone became slightly more courteous as he said, "This stinky woman dared to make trouble for me. You and I can take care of her. I'll leave her to you." Zhao Fu could not help but lightly laugh. "I don't like you, there's a feud between us." Song Kongyue's expression changed. He had not expected Zhao Fu to say something like that. Moreover, Zhao Fu had said that he had a grudge against him. Why did it seem like he had never seen this person before? Now that Jian Liuxin was slightly relieved, Zhao Fu also had a grudge with Song Kongyue. Song Kongyue was also one of his targets. Zhao Fu smiled and said, "What do you think I should do with the two of you?" Jian Liuyue said coldly, "Then let me see your power and see if you have the qualifications to say such things." Clang! Jian Liuyue stabbed her sword towards Zhao Fu, and the sword gave off a sword light that gave off a sharpness that could cut through steel. Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile as he looked at Jian Liuyue condescendingly. He formed a sword finger with his hand and sent a wave of power into it. The sword finger gave off a faint sword light as he slashed out. Boom! A massive sword light containing terrifying sword power slashed forwards, seeming to be able to slash space apart. Some black marks appeared in space. Bang! Jian Liuyue was sent flying back 10 or so meters, and her expression was quite unsightly as she said, "You really are an Emperor Heaven Realm expert." Before, Jian Liuyue and Song Kongyue's cultivations had been higher than Zhao Fu's, and after a few years of cultivation, they had broken through to the divine realm. This speed was incredibly fast for most people, and they were rare geniuses. However, after the divine realm was the extreme divine realm, and after the extreme divine realm was the emperor heaven realm. Just in terms of cultivation, there was such a large gap between them and Zhao Fu, so it was quite easy for Zhao Fu to deal with them. Hearing this, Zhao Fu smiled and said, "Do I have the right to say such things now?" Jian Luiyue coldly harumphed, "What do you want to do to me?" Zhao Fu looked at Jian Liue's figure and beautiful looks, causing a look of disgust to appear on Jian Liue's face. At that moment, Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile as he said, "Since your big sister has offended me, as her sister, you should repay for her." Jian Luiyue said furiously, "Don't even think about it." Zhao Fu lightly smiled as he said, "I don't want to waste any more time. Are you going to take the initiative, or do you want me to force you?" "Husband, I've brought people over." A flirtatious voice sounded out as a beautiful and voluptuous woman, wearing a pink palace dress, flew over with an ordinary-looking young man, an elderly man, and a middle-aged man. The three of them all gave off Emperor Heaven Realm auras, and were most likely Emperor Heaven Realm experts. Song Kongyue inwardly let out a sigh of relief. Now that they had three Emperor Heaven Realm experts on their side, they did not have to fear Zhao Fu. Jian Liuyue's expression became even more unsightly. She could not stop Zhao Fu by himself, and now there were three Emperor Heaven Realm experts on Song Kongyue's side. Jian Luiyue had come to settle scores with Song Kongyue. This was because Song Kongyue had heavily injured one of her junior apprentice brothers. Her junior apprentice brother had looked at his wife too much, so Song Kongyue had broken her junior apprentice brother's arms and legs and stepped on his head. He had humiliated her junior apprentice brother, causing him to lose his dignity and suffer great humiliation. Now, her junior apprentice brother seemed to have become a completely different person. He became depressed and did not want to see strangers, and he was not as cheerful and considerate as before. After finding out where Song Kongyue was, she started to attack Song Kongyue. Song Kongyue understood that he was not a match for Jian Luiyue, so he had Xiang Qianqian call for people and brought Zhao Fu here. Not only had she not been able to save her junior apprentice brother, but she had also put herself in danger. Xiang Qianqian gave a trace of a smile as she flew towards Song Kongyue, but suddenly, the power within her body became incredibly excited. Her heart rate sped up, and her body started to heat up as her face became bright red. "What's going on?" Xiang Qianqian looked quite confused and did not know why she had such a reaction. She had had this reaction a few years ago, and it had been because of that mysterious man. Now she was constantly thinking about that mysterious man, and she regretted not leaving with him back then. Now she was thinking about him every day. After finding out who that mysterious man was, she felt even more excited and regretful. After all, that mysterious man was the possessor of the 7 Emperor stars that had shaken the entire world. He could be said to be the #1 person in the Heaven Awakened world, and he was valued by countless factions. He was just that terrifying, and this made her feel even more infatuated with that man. At the same time, she felt quite happy that she had such a strong reaction to that man. Xiang Qianqian felt that that man was her true man. As for Song Kongyue, even though he treated her very well, they were only together because of the marriage alliance between the two factions. She did not like Song Kongyue very much. Even though Xiang Qianqian and Song Kongyue were quite intimate, Xiang Qianqian was still a virgin. She had been waiting for an opportunity to meet that man again. Peak. Chapter 2482. Afterwards, she would give her first time to him, to the man she truly acknowledged. It was a pity that after so many years, she had not been able to wait for this opportunity. She wanted to find that mysterious man, but no one in the world could find that man, so it was impossible for her to find that man. After waiting for so long, the massive disappointment had almost caused her to give up, and she did not have much hope. However, she had never thought that she would have such an intense reaction today, making it so that she could not even react in time. The opportunity she had been waiting for so many years had suddenly appeared. Xiang Qianqian hurriedly looked around, looking for that person. She found that it was still the same man, and he wore a cloak and gave off an even more alluring aura. After finally seeing him, Xiang Qianqian's eyes became moist and she wanted to leap into that person's embrace. "You three, kill him!" A voice cut off Xiang Qianqian's thoughts. It was Tsang Kongyue giving an order to the three Emperor Heaven Realm experts. The three Emperor Heaven Realm experts looked at Zhao Fu and immediately gave off massive power as they rushed at Zhao Fu. Xiang Qianqian hurriedly cried out, "Don't!" However, the three Emperor Heaven Realm experts were Tsang Kongyue's people and would not listen to her orders. They continued to give off immense power as they rushed at Zhao Fu. The three of them quickly arrived in front of Zhao Fu. An ordinary-looking young man punched out, bringing with him a massive gale, as if he could shatter a mountain. The middle-aged man slapped out with a palm, sending out terrifying power. The elderly man's claw-like hand grabbed towards Zhao Fu with shocking power. Zhao Fu condescendingly looked at the three Emperor Heaven Realm experts in front of him, and a massive wave of power gathered in his arm. He clenched his fist, and a black aura flame appeared around it as he vigorously punched out. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as the two sides' powers collided, causing a massive gale to blow out. The three Emperor Heaven Realm experts were forced back a few steps before stopping and looking at Zhao Fu in confusion. Meanwhile, Zhao Fu stood his ground and did not move. The others also looked quite shocked. They had never thought that Zhao Fu would have such a great advantage against three people by himself. This person was simply too powerful. A smile appeared on Xiang Qianqian's face as she let out a breath of relief. Jian Luiyue did not hesitate and turned into a ray of sword light as she shot towards the horizon. Now that Zhao Fu had three other Emperor Heaven Realm experts blocking him, it was perfect for her to escape. No matter who won, it would not benefit him. Seeing that Jian Luiyue was about to escape, Zhao Fu stretched out a hand and a massive wave of power flowed out, turning into a massive palm that grabbed towards Jian Luiyue. Jian Luiyue immediately felt a force binding her, and her originally fast speed slowed down. Just as the black hand was about to grab her, Jian Luiyue felt a force binding her. She took out a sword talisman and stuck it on her body. Clang! A massive sword hum sounded out as the talisman paper gave off countless rays of sword light. A massive sword energy covered Jian Luiyue's body and quickly shot forwards, slashing apart Zhao Fu's sealing power. It drew a thin line in midair and disappeared into the horizon. This was Jian Luiyue's life-saving talisman. As someone from such a powerful faction, it was impossible that she did not have any life-saving method. Tsang Kongyue felt that the situation was quite bad and flew up and grabbed Xiang Qianqian's hand. He activated a jade medallion and turned into a ray of light as he shot towards the horizon. Just as Zhao Fu wanted to stop them, the three Emperor Heaven Realm experts unleashed powerful attacks, causing Zhao Fu to stop. Seeing Jian Luiyue and Tsang Kongyue run away, Zhao Fu felt quite bored. He had wanted to teach them a lesson as revenge for what had happened in the past. In the end, he looked at the three nervous Emperor Heaven Realm experts and said, "I'll give you 3 seconds to scram." Zhao Fu did not want to waste his strength on them. The three Emperor Heaven Realm experts hurriedly turned and flew to the side. They knew that Zhao Fu was far more powerful than them and could easily kill them, so they had been prepared to be killed. However, they had never thought that Zhao Fu would tell them to scram and not kill them. As such, they naturally happily scrammed. Now that Jian Luiyue and Tsang Kongyue had run away, Zhao Fu gave up on going to the Emperor Path College. He could not stay here for too long, so Zhao Fu quickly flew away and left this place. Jian Luiyue returned to the sword sect in a wretched state and just happened to see her big sister, Jian Yue. Seeing her little sister in such a wretched state, Jian Yue asked caringly, "Luiyue, how did you end up like this? What happened?" Jian Luiyue gave a simple explanation of what had happened before asking, "Big sis, do you know who that person is? How come I don't know that you have enmity with such a powerful person?" Jian Yue looked quite confused. She did not know when she had enmity with such a person. After hearing from her little sister that that person always wore a cloak, she suddenly thought of something and her expression fell. Seeing her big sister like this, Jian Luiyue felt quite startled and asked, "What is it, big sis?" Jian Yue's expression was serious as she said, "You fought with him and should have some of his aura on you. Give me a bit." Jian Luiyue nodded before grabbing at her body and pulling out a few traces of black aura. The black aura gathered into a small orb, and Jian Luiyue handed the orb to her big sister. Jian Yue took the orb of aura and felt a sense of familiarity. She then took out a crystal ball, which contained a trace of black and blood-red sword qi. Sensing that orb of aura, the trace of black and blood-red sword qi immediately became excited and moved about within the crystal ball because it had seen its owner. Jian Luiyue asked in confusion, "Big sis, isn't this the sword intent you've been comprehending? Why is there such an intense reaction to this aura? Do you know that person?" Jian Yue looked at her little sister seriously and said, "I know that person, and you've heard of him before." Jian Luiyue looked quite confused as she asked, "Who is that?" Jian Yue said, "That person is the person with 7 emperor stars, a terrifying figure who can shake the entire 3 worlds." Hearing this, massive waves crashed in Jian Luiyue's heart, and her mind went blank. She had never thought that she would meet such a terrifying genius who was watched by the entire world. After a while, Jian Luiyue said nervously, "Big sis, what do you think we should do about such a big matter? Should we tell Father and the elders that that person has returned to the heaven domain by himself?" Jian Yue thought for a while before replying, "This matter is too big, and the fewer people who know, the better. Let's not tell anyone for now, or else once news gets out, the entire heaven domain will be shaken. Moreover, even if we tell Father and the others, facing such a terrifying person, it will be difficult for them to deal with him." Apex. Chapter 2483. Jian Luiyue asked, "Big sis, what do you think we should do? We can't just pretend that nothing has happened, right?" Jian Yue thought for a moment before replying seriously, "I plan to go find him and comprehend that celestial slaughter sword intent." Jian Yue felt quite startled and said, "Big sis, are you sure? That person is incredibly terrifying, and in just a few years, he surpassed me and became an Emperor Heaven Realm expert. Perhaps you won't be a match for him." Jian Yue replied, "I understand, but I still want to go find him. I want to see just how powerful he is and how big of a gap there is between me and the number 1 person in the Heaven Awaken world." Seeing that her big sister had made up her mind, Jian Yue did not try to dissuade her anymore. She thought about it and said, "Big sis, can I come with you?" Jian Yue looked at Jian Yue in surprise and said, "Why? You should know that it's quite dangerous." Jian Yue explained, "I also want to grasp that celestial slaughter sword intent, and I'm also quite curious about that number 1 person in the Heaven Awaken world. I want to understand some information about him and why he's so terrifying." Jian Yue gave a trace of a smile and said, Let's go together then. However, we should make some preparations." Jian Yue smiled and nodded. Over at the other side, Song Kongyue brought Xiang Qianqian back to his faction and let out a sigh of relief. Now that they were back at their faction, they did not have to worry about Zhao Fu attacking. However, Song Kongyue's expression became cold. Now that they had returned to their faction, they could send even more powerful people to kill that person. If an Emperor Heaven Realm expert was not a match for him, he would send a Void Realm expert to kill him. If a Void Realm expert could not kill him, he would send a Spirit Realm expert to kill him. With his status, he would be able to easily invite a Spirit Realm expert to kill him. Just as Song Kongyue was about to go invite a Spirit Realm expert, he suddenly found that his fiancée was quite dispirited. A trace of a smile appeared on Song Kongyue's face as he went up and hugged Xiang Qianqian as he comforted her, saying, "Qianqian, don't be afraid. That person won't dare to come here." Song Kongyue greatly liked Xiang Qianqian and treated her as the most important person in his life. He would even give up his life for her. As such, he would feel uncomfortable whenever others looked at Xiang Qianqian. Xiang Qianqian struggled out of Song Kongyue's embrace and said, "I have some matters to attend to at the Myriad Desire Palace." Song Kongyue had a strange expression as he asked caringly, "What's the matter?" "I'll go back with you." Xiang Qianqian had already made up her mind to look for that person. She did not want to suffer the pain of missing him anymore. Saying that she would return to the Palace of Myriad Desire was just a lie to Song Kongyue. Naturally, she would not agree to go back with him. No need. This time, I want to go back alone. Also, I'm leaving soon. Seeing how anxious Xiang Qianqian was, Song Kongyue did not insist and said, "All right, I'll wait for you here. Come back soon." Xiang Qianqian glanced at Song Kongyue and flew away without saying a word. This made Song Kongyue feel very uncomfortable. He did not know why Xiang Qianqian had suddenly become like this. Was it because he was angry? Currently, there were 3 groups of people chasing after Zhao Fu from different directions. The first group, Lan Yu, had arrived at the place where the battle had taken place. Looking at the traces of battle around her, she felt quite confused. However, she did not pay too much mind because the traces of battle here were not caused by Zhao Fu. After coming here, Zhao Fu had already hidden his aura, making it impossible for Lan Yu to obtain any information about him. Before, Lan Yu had been relying on the remnant aura that Zhao Fu had left behind to chase after Zhao Fu. After thinking for a while, Lan Yu saw that Zhao Fu had continued to head in a certain direction, most likely heading towards a certain place. After going in that direction and passing through the heaven domain, he would reach the spirit domain. Thinking of the spirit domain, Lan Yu suddenly thought of the Emperor Stars. Now, Zhao Fu had awakened the Emperor Stars of 6 races, and only the Water Race's Emperor Star and the Spirit Race's Emperor Star were left. Could it be that he was going to the Spirit Domain to awaken the Spirit Race's Emperor Star? Thinking about that, Lan Yu felt quite startled before a beautiful smile appeared on her face. As expected from the man she had fallen for, he had such terrifying power. After awakening the Spirit Race's Emperor Star, he would have 8 Emperor Stars. As for whether or not he could awaken the Spirit Race's Emperor Star, that was nonsense. Her man had already awakened the Emperor Stars of 6 races, so how could he not awaken the Spirit Race's Emperor Star? That was almost impossible. After finding out what Zhao Fu's goal was, Lan Yu gave a trace of a smile and quickly chased after him. Not too long after Lan Yu left, Jian Yue brought her little sister, Jian Luiyue, over. Jian Luiyue sensed the surroundings and frowned as she said, "Big sis, that person's aura has disappeared. Now that his aura has disappeared, how are we going to find him?" Jian Yue took out the crystal ball that contained a trace of celestial murdering sword intent. The trace of celestial murdering sword chi seemed to sense something and went in a certain direction. Looking in that direction, Jian Yue sank into her thoughts. Jian Luiyue asked in confusion, "What is it, big sis?" Seeing that the celestial murdering sword intent is reacting in that direction, that person most likely went in that direction. Jian Yue lightly nodded. "I know that he went in that direction, but I feel quite curious. After disappearing for so long, why did he suddenly reappear? Moreover, he's going in the direction of the spirit domain. Hearing this, Jian Luiyue started to think about why Zhao Fu had suddenly appeared in the heaven domain. She suddenly thought of something and said in shock, "Big sis, that person has already awakened a few races' supreme emperor stars. He might be going to the spirit domain to awaken the spirit race's emperor star." Jian Yue said seriously, I think so too. I think so too. If he really awakened the spirit race's emperor star, he would have 8 emperor stars. Even I feel a trace of reverence towards such a person. Jian Luiyue said with a trace of anticipation, "Let's hurry in that direction. I want to personally see him awaken the 8th emperor star." Jian Yue nodded and flew off with Jian Luiyue. In the end, Xiang Qianqian also arrived. She did not sense Zhao Fu's aura, but she had a special method to sense where Zhao Fu was going. She closed her eyes and used her body to sense, and soon, she sensed a direction that made her feel quite excited. A trace of a smile appeared on Xiang Qianqian's face as she quickly flew off. Her body greatly reacted to Zhao Fu, and she could use this sense to find Zhao Fu. However, Zhao Fu did not know about this. After flying for a while, he felt that there was nothing out of the ordinary, so he let down his guard and did not hide his aura as he continued to fly in the direction of the spirit domain. Peak. Chapter 2484. After 2 of them, Zhao Fu came to a new place. This place was quite close to the devil domain, so there were many devil race people here. The fiend race was very competitive and had built many beast battle arenas. Every day, many people fought in the beast battle arenas, and there were many fiend race spectators. It was the most popular place here. Zhao Fu passed by this place and did not pay much attention to it. However, he suddenly heard that there was a dueling competition here, and whoever won would be able to obtain a few precious devil race treasures. One of them was an Emperor Heaven Devil Horse Stone, which Zhao Fu was most interested in. Emperor Heaven Devil Horses were extremely powerful devil horses. They were tall and powerful and gave off Emperor's power, and they gave off a noble and powerful aura. This was because they had an imperial bloodline. Even though it was not a pure imperial bloodline, it gave them powerful Emperor's power, allowing them to suppress other devil beasts of the same realm. There were very few Emperor Heaven Devil Horses, and they were rarely seen. Because of their bloodlines, they were unable to turn into human forms, so they always looked like horses. As such, having an Emperor Heaven Devil Horse as a mount was something that gave one face and made others envious. The Emperor Heaven Devil Horse Stone was condensed from the Emperor Heaven Devil Horse's power after it died. If it was given to another horse, it would obtain a bit of the Emperor Heaven Devil Horse's bloodline and obtain Emperor's power. It was said that this Emperor Heaven Devil Horse Stone was incredibly powerful and was not an ordinary Emperor Heaven Devil Horse Stone. Hearing about the Emperor Heaven Devil Horse Stone, Zhao Fu thought that if he could obtain this Emperor Heaven Devil Horse Stone and fuse it into a horse den, those horses would have the Emperor Heaven Devil Horse bloodline and could become mounts for an Emperor's cavalry corps. With the aura of an Emperor's bloodline and horses with the Emperor's bloodline, they would be a perfect match, and they would be able to unleash the full power of a cavalry corps. Zhao Fu had seen how powerful a cavalry corps was, and he had been thinking about how to develop a cavalry corps. As such, after hearing about this, he stopped and decided to participate in the dueling competition. A while later, Zhao Fu went to the life-saving counter. There was a devil race person with a goat's head and a human body sitting at the counter. He held a pen with a stack of white paper. When he saw Zhao Fu walking in front of him, he spoke in a calm tone, "Tell me your name and cultivation, I will arrange a duel with you." Zhao Fu said, "Demon Knight, Emperor Heaven Realm Cultivation." The devil race person looked quite surprised before giving a smile and standing up as he respectfully bowed and said, "So it's an Emperor Heaven Realm Cultivator, please don't blame me." Zhao Fu replied softly, "Nothing, I want to participate in this duel competition." The sheep-headed devil race person smiled as he said, "Sir, according to the rules, please show off your Emperor Heaven Realm strength." Hearing this, Zhao Fu nodded and gave off an Emperor Heaven Realm power. Sensing the terrifying power that Zhao Fu gave off, the goat devil race's expression became even more respectful. Even though Emperor Heaven Realm cultivators were not rare here, they were still quite powerful. "My lord, because you're an Emperor Heaven Realm expert, you don't need to participate in the preliminaries and can directly participate in the finals. I, Marang, have people prepare a guest room for my lord. Because the duel has just begun, my lord will need some time to rest." Zhao Fu said, I understand." Following this, the sheep-headed devil race person called over a young man with a sheep head and brought Zhao Fu to a room. This room was at the top of a beast arena and could directly see the duel below. There were many similar rooms in the surroundings, and apart from the competitors in these rooms, everyone else had prestigious statuses and had come to watch the duel. Within the beast arena, there was a devil race person with a lion's head and a devil race person with a bull's horn fighting. Both of them were divine realm experts, and the minimum requirement for this duel was the divine realm and the maximum was the Emperor Heaven Realm. As such, as an Emperor Heaven Realm expert, Zhao Fu could directly participate in the finals and did not need to participate in the preliminaries. An ordinary Emperor Heaven Realm cultivator would be able to suppress a Divine Realm cultivator. This would not be too surprising, and there was nothing to see. The sheep-headed young man said respectfully, "Sir, if you have any questions or requests, you can tell me." Zhao Fu lightly nodded, indicating that he understood. Following this, he started to feel quite bored. As an Emperor Heaven Realm expert, Zhao Fu was not very interested in watching a group of Divine Realm experts fight. However, the Devil Race people on the lower levels cheered excitedly, and the scene was quite lively. To them, a Heavenly Realm expert was an extraordinary expert. Seeing these experts fight intensely, they were naturally very excited and moved. Bang! Bang! Muffled sounds rang out. The two Devil Race cultivators were both strength-type. They continuously punched each other ferociously, causing strong gales to blow out. What was worth mentioning was that they could not use weapons in this duel and could only rely on their own bodies to fight. After all, the Devil Race's bodies were incredibly powerful and could unleash great destructive power. Roar! The Devil Race person with a bull's horn vigorously punched out, and a massive azure bull's head gave off ferocious power as it smashed towards the lion person. Bang! The lion person blocked with his hands, but he was sent flying by that massive force. He coughed up a large mouthful of blood, and did not even have the strength to get up. In the end, the referee went up and declared the bull-horned young man's victory. Following the bull-horned young man's victory, the surroundings once again burst into an uproar. Countless people excitedly cried out, expressing their joy. Zhao Fu watched on in boredom. Even though the battles were quite exciting, they could not attract Zhao Fu's attention. Next, a savage-looking man in white competed with a well-dressed big man. Bang! 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 The two of them quickly started to fight intensely. The big man continuously punched out, sending out a massive fist energy that could shatter steel, while the savage-looking young man sent some power into his palms, causing them to give off a pale light that turned into two sabers of light that slashed towards the big man. In the end, the savage-looking young man won, sending the big man flying with a single strike. A deep gash appeared on the big man's chest, from which blood continuously flowed out. Following this, the referee ordered people to carry the big man off the stage and declared the savage-looking young man's victory. Zhao Fu still felt quite bored, and after a few more battles, a cute-looking girl with two black dragon horns and her long black hair tied into two braids came to the arena. Her opponent was a handsome-looking young man in white with two dragon horns on his head. Both of them were from the dragon race. Everyone felt quite excited. The dragon race was one of the most powerful races in the devil race, and the battle power they gave off was not weak at all. Peak. Chapter 2485. The cute-looking young woman lightly harumphed and said in a lowly voice, "I never thought that I would meet you so early. Today, I'll let you have a taste of Evil Nine's power." The handsome young man looked at the cute-looking young woman and said, I also want to fight with you and see what qualifications you have to receive Grandpa Azure Dragon's attention." Hearing this, the dragon race young woman angrily rushed at the young man, giving off a ferocious aura. The dragon race young woman quickly reached the young man and gripped her hand into a fist as she punched towards the young man with enough power to shatter mountains. The young man did not move at all and also gripped his other hand into a fist as he punched out with enough power to shatter space. Bang! When the two small fists collided with each other, a violent gust of wind instantly spread out, causing the ground to crack. The young man and young woman both retreated a few steps and their expressions became serious. They then started to fight intensely, causing powerful shockwaves to ripple out. Everyone felt quite shocked. These two seemingly small bodies had such terrifying power, as expected from people from the dragon race. Zhao Fu looked at the young woman and sensed that her aura and voice were quite familiar, as if he had heard them somewhere before. Bang! A muffled explosion sounded out as the young woman dodged the kick and punched the young man's abdomen. The terrifying power sent the young man flying, and he crashed to the ground and coughed up a mouthful of blood. The young woman continued to rush at the young man incredibly quickly. The young man quickly got up and looked at the young woman from the dragon race rushing over. His body gave off boundless white light as a white dragon appeared above his head. It was 10 or so meters long and gave off a powerful dragon's might. Seeing the young man release his power, the young woman rushed at him while giving off boundless black light, and a black dragon appeared above her head. This black dragon was 10 or so meters long and had a pair of iron-like horns. It had 6 blood-red eyes and looked quite terrifying. It was covered with black scales and gave off a powerful and evil aura. Seeing this black dragon, Zhao Fu felt quite startled and suddenly remembered who this young woman was. Bang! At that moment, a massive explosion sounded out as the two dragons collided with terrifying power, resulting in an intense explosion. Countless rays of light shot out and a destructive power spread out, causing the ground to collapse. Shock waves spread out, and the two of them were lying on the ground, looking quite wretched. Blood flowed out of the corners of their mouths, and they got up from the ground, continuing to give off powerful auras as they charged at each other. When Zhao Fu saw the girl, he gave a happy smile. Zhao Fu had never thought that he would meet her here. This young girl had known Zhao Fu for a long time, and she was someone who had known Zhao Fu around the same time as Xianru. She was also a powerful lord, and back then, even Zhao Fu had to avoid her. She was a six-eyed flood dragon. The six-eyed flood dragon was once the lord of the Forest of Horrors region, and it was one of the most terrifying creatures in the region. Back then, in order to gather spirit herbs, Zhao Fu had gone into the depths of the Forest of Horrors to meet the six-eyed flood dragon, and they had become friends. Afterwards, the six-eyed flood dragon had left Qin and disappeared. Back then, Qin was still quite weak, and the northern side of China had not been unified yet. It had been 10 or so years since then, and Zhao Fu had never thought that he would meet her here. Zhao Fu had always felt quite curious as to where the six-eyed flood dragon had gone and why it seemed to have disappeared. Now, Zhao Fu understood that she had come here. If it wasn't for the fact that he had just happened to pass by, he might not have been able to meet her. The six-eyed flood dragon was no longer a flood dragon but a dragon. It was called the demonic god flood dragon, and it was a king-class lord-class devil beast. She had turned into her human form, and if she hadn't condensed that black dragon, Zhao Fu might not have been able to recognize her. Roar! A massive dragon's roar sounded out as a white dragon rushed out of the young man's palm. The white dragon formed a white dragon-shaped saber that gave off a terrifying destructive power. This dragon-shaped saber was a weapon condensed from power, and it was not a true weapon, so it could be used. The dragon race young man held the saber and gave off ferocious power as he rushed at the dragon race woman. His aura was quite terrifying, and he looked like a ferocious beast. The dragon race young man coldly stood there, and a powerful evil power spread out from her body as 6 massive blood-red eyes appeared behind her, giving off a blood-red light. Boom! The 6 blood-red eyes shot out 6 massive blood-red beams of light that gave off evil and terrifying power. They were incredibly fast and ferociously shot towards the dragon race young man. The dragon race young man sent large amounts of dragon energy into his hand, and the white saber gave off a terrifying saber light as he vigorously slashed forwards, sending out a massive white saber light. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as the blood-red beam of light and saber light collided. A terrifying energy barrier spread out, covering the entire competition venue, and the ground continuously shattered. The ground violently trembled as countless rocks and sand flew everywhere. Everyone fell silent as they looked at the competition venue in shock. This battle was quite terrifying, and both of them were incredibly powerful. Now, who had won? Countless people looked at the competition venue in anticipation, and after the shock waves dissipated, the dragon race young man was lying on the ground. Blood flowed out of his chest, dyeing his clothes red. Countless people could not help but cry out in excitement, and the scene once again became raucous. The dragon race young man had won. The dragon race young man gave a pleased smile as she looked at the dragon race young man on the ground and said, "Now you know how powerful I am, right? In the future, be more well-behaved, or I'll teach you a lesson again." The dragon race young man's expression was quite unsightly, but he did not say anything. He had lost to someone else, and he was weaker than her, so he did not have the right to retort. There were a few dragon race young men and women on the viewing platforms, and looking at the pleased dragon race young man, they felt quite angry. It was evident that they did not like the dragon race young man. The referee ordered people to carry the dragon race young man off the stage and announced the dragon race young man's victory. The dragon race young man happily skipped to the side, and her 2 little braids swayed back and forth. Adding on her terrifying face, she looked quite cute. The referee activated a magic formation, and a massive wave of energy spread out. The destroyed competition venue quickly repaired itself and returned to its original, undamaged state. Zhao Fu looked at the dragon race young man leaving and gave a trace of a smile. He left the room on the top floor and walked towards where the dragon race young man had gone. Boom! Boom! Chapter 2486. Stop, Evil 9. Just as the Dragon Pearl Girl left the Beast Arena, a few young men and women from the dragon race angrily called out to her. The dragon race young woman turned to look at them and said, "What do you want?" A young man said angrily, "Evil 9, you were too heavy-handed and heavily injured White Dragon. We're all Grandpa Azure Dragon's children. Don't think that just because Grandpa Azure Dragon likes you, you can do whatever you want." The dragon race young woman lightly harumphed. "That was in the arena. I definitely could not hold back, or else I would have lost. Also, do you have a problem with me? I'm not afraid of you." A young woman with blue dragon horns said coldly, "Evil 9, you're indeed very powerful, but don't be too arrogant. Do you think you can stop us? You'd best be more obedient." The dragon race young woman said arrogantly, "I'm not afraid of you. If you have the ability, then come and defeat me." The young women and women became even angrier and glared at Evil 9. It seemed that the 2 sides were about to start fighting. "How uncultured!" A voice filled with disgust and disdain sounded out. It was a handsome young man in white standing by the side, as he looked at the young women and women. He gave off a trace of Phoenix Chi. He was most likely someone from the Phoenix race, the greatest enemy of the dragon race. The 2 races did not like each other and always targeted each other, so their relationship was quite bad. Evil 9 and the young women could sense that this person was someone from the Phoenix race. Hearing his words, they furiously looked at the young man from the Phoenix race. The young man from the Dragon race said, "You're the one who's uncultured? What does the matters of the Dragon race have to do with the Phoenix race?" The young man from the Phoenix race said disdainfully, "Oh? You dare to talk back? You really don't know what's good for you. Do you know my power?" As he spoke, the young man from the Phoenix race gave off a massive wave of power that covered the surroundings, causing the air to become heavy. This was the power of the extreme divine realm. Sensing this aura, the young women's faces became pale. They had all broken through to the divine realm not long ago and were far from the extreme divine realm. They were not a match for this young man from the Phoenix race. Seeing them like this, the young man from the Phoenix race gave a proud smile. "A bunch of trash. People from the Dragon race are like this." This caused the faces of the Dragon race's people to turn red with anger. However, the other party was a divine extreme stage elite, and they couldn't beat him at all. If they attacked him now, they might even be killed by him. The cities that had beast arenas were filled with experts and powerful formations. Ordinary people wouldn't dare to fight in the cities. Therefore, the young man from the Phoenix clan didn't kill them directly. Evil 9 said angrily, "Don't go overboard." The young man from the Phoenix clan laughed contemptuously. "Oh? How dare you attack me?" Evil 9 glared angrily at the young man from the Phoenix clan. He could not help but release a wave of dragon power. "Humph! What's so great about bullying a few kids here? I think you phoenixes are the ones who deserve to be rebelled." A soul-stirring voice sounded out as a beautiful woman with a pair of jade-green dragon horns and a head of long, azure hair appeared. She was tall and slim, and she gave off the aura of a big sister. She wore an azure dress and gave off a powerful aura. Seeing this woman, the people from the Dragon race gave happy smiles and called out, "Big Sister Ching." The Phoenix clan young man's face turned ugly. He knew the identity of the woman in front of him. Her name was Long Ching, and she had a very prestigious status. She was one of the most popular geniuses in the Dragon clan. Her family was also very powerful, and it was a famous family in the Dragon clan. Her cultivation was only at the Emperor Heaven realm, and this made the young man from the Phoenix clan feel quite helpless. He could not offend Long Ching, so he turned to leave. Looking at the young man from the Phoenix clan who was about to leave, Long Ching said, "You want to leave after bullying a member of the Dragon race?" The young man's expression was quite unsightly as he said, "What do you want then?" Long Ching said, "Apologize to your little brother and sister and ask them to forgive you before you can leave. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite." The other people from the Dragon race all gave happy smiles and looked at the young man from the Phoenix clan. They could now vent their anger. The young man from the Phoenix clan felt immense pressure, and he definitely did not want to apologize. However, he was incredibly afraid of Long Ching, and after thinking about it, he suppressed his anger and said, "I'm sorry for just then." After saying this, the young man from the Phoenix clan immediately prepared to leave. He had greatly embarrassed himself here today. He did not want to stay here for even a moment longer. Long Ching stopped him and said, "Did I say you could leave?" The young man from the Phoenix clan turned and angrily looked at Long Ching. "What else do you want?" Long Ching smiled as she said, "My little brother and sister haven't forgiven you yet. How can you leave?" Long Ching, "Do you think the Phoenix clan fears you?" Another powerful female voice sounded out as a woman with jet black hair, perfect looks, and a mature figure appeared. She wore a white dress and gave off a noble, magnanimous, and powerful aura. The aura she gave off was quite powerful, and she was an Emperor Heaven realm expert. There were 6 beautiful female attendants beside her, and they all gave off the aura of the Phoenix clan. Looking at the woman in front of her, Long Ching's expression became serious. The woman was called Feng Baishue, and she was a famous genius in the Phoenix clan. She also had a noble identity, and was ranked 5th in the Phoenix clan. She was even stronger than Long Qingqing. Long Qingqing looked at Feng Baixue with her beautiful eyes and said, "Since you've come, this matter will end here. In the future, you'll have to manage your people properly." Feng Baixue lightly laughed. "Long Qingqing, you still don't understand the situation, right? It's not up to you, it's up to me. My Phoenix clan's people are bullying your Dragon clan's people. What are you going to do about it?" Long Qingqing's expression was cold as she said, "Anyone who dares to bully my little brother and sister, I'll teach them a lesson no matter what." Feng Baixue laughed as she said, "Ha ha ha, let me see your strength then." Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as Feng Baixue gave off a terrifying aura that blew out like a wild gale, causing everyone in the surroundings to feel a chill as their bodies uncontrollably trembled. The Dragon clan's people, including Evil 9, looked at Feng Baixue in fear because Feng Baixue's power was simply too terrifying. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as Long Qingqing also gave off a massive aura, blocking Feng Baixue's aura. However, it was evident that Long Qingqing's aura was slightly weaker. Under these two massive auras, the surroundings became deathly silent, and the atmosphere became quite heavy. Feng Baixue gave a trace of a domineering smile as she looked at Long Qingqing and stretched out a hand, preparing to attack. A light laugh suddenly sounded out. Chapter 2487. Hearing this chuckle, everyone was startled and turned to look at the source of the chuckle. They wanted to see who dared to laugh at this moment. They saw a black-cloaked person giving off a mysterious and dangerous aura appear in front of them. Feng Baixue frowned and said, "Who are you? It's best if you don't meddle in other people's business." Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he said, "I'm just an ordinary person. However, she's a friend of mine." The people from the dragon race looked quite confused and looked at each other, not knowing who was this mysterious person's friend. Feng Baixue's gaze became cold as she said, "So you insist on interfering? Then you asked for it." Scree! A phoenix cry sounded out as a powerful white energy flowed out of Feng Baixue's body. Feng Baixue stretched out her hand towards Zhao Fu, and the white energy turned into a massive ray of light that shot towards Zhao Fu, seeming as if it was unstoppable. Facing such a terrifying attack, Zhao Fu stood his ground and slashed out with his sword. A sharp arc of light flashed out, destroying the white ray of light. Everyone felt quite startled and felt that this person was incredibly powerful to be able to casually block such a terrifying attack. Feng Baixue also felt quite startled, and she felt that this person was even more powerful than her. Countless traces of white energy once again flowed out of Feng Baixue's body. She was not willing to be weaker than this person. Long Qingqing also gave off an azure energy and prepared to attack Feng Baixue. It was evident that Zhao Fu was here to help them, and she could not let Zhao Fu fight Feng Baixue by himself. Feng Baixue said coldly, "You people from the dragon race are indeed despicable. You want to deal with me together?" Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he said, "I think you overestimate yourself. To me, you're not powerful at all, and in fact, you're quite weak." A trace of anger appeared on Feng Baixue's face. She was a famous expert in the Phoenix race, and yet someone had spoken to her like this. How could she endure this? Scree! A massive phoenix cry sounded out as an enormous white phoenix flew out of Feng Baixue's body. It gave off boundless power and gave off boundless white light as it flew towards Zhao Fu. Boom! An ultimate power erupted from Zhao Fu's body. It was like a huge flood that could destroy everything. It surged out in all directions and nothing could stop it. When Zhao Fu no longer held back and exploded out with his power, everyone present felt incredibly shocked. That terrifying power seemed to pull people into an endless abyss, and they could not help but feel a surge of fear in their hearts. The massive white phoenix continued to fly towards Zhao Fu with immense power. Just as it was about to hit Zhao Fu suddenly stopped. Zhao Fu stretched out a hand and grabbed the huge white phoenix's head. Then, with a forceful grip, the huge white phoenix turned into countless white motes of light and dissipated. Feng Baishua's face became somewhat pale, and there was even a trace of fear on her face. It was not because of the attack that Zhao Fu had just unleashed, but because she had sensed the sovereign dragon bloodline within Zhao Fu's body. It was not just her. The other members of the dragon race also looked at Zhao Fu in shock. Right now, they could only feel that their bloodlines were extremely fearful, but also extremely excited. Their dragon souls could not help but submit. The person in front of them was the sovereign dragon race. No one was more familiar with the sovereign dragon race than the dragon race. Most importantly, the person in front of them possessed the sovereign dragon bloodline. It was the most terrifying sovereign dragon bloodline that they knew of. No other sovereign dragon bloodline could compare to it. Even the sovereign dragon bloodline of the Dragon Royal Palace was weaker than it by a level. The Dragon Royal Palace was the supreme place of the dragon race, and they controlled everything in the dragon race. No dragon race dared to go against their orders. The sovereign dragon bloodline of the person in front of them was even more terrifying than the sovereign dragon bloodline of the Dragon Royal Palace. It was very likely that he was even more terrifying than the Dragon Royal Palace, or that he was the supreme existence of the Dragon Royal Palace. As famous experts of their race, Feng Baishue and Long Qingqing had naturally seen the sovereign dragon bloodline of the Dragon Royal Palace. However, they had never seen such a terrifying bloodline, which was why they were so shocked. Long Qingqing reacted quickly, and she bowed to Zhao Fu. "Greetings, revered dragon." The other members of the dragon race had never expected to meet such a terrifying person, and they also bowed nervously. Feng Baishue and the rest looked at Zhao Fu with pale faces, and they were speechless. Zhao Fu looked at Long Qingqing and the rest, and he laughed lightly. "You're welcome, I'm not some revered dragon." Long Qingqing felt strange. She could not understand why someone with such a terrifying bloodline would say that he wasn't a revered dragon. Could it be that he was even more terrifying than the sovereign dragon race? Zhao Fu looked at Feng Baishue and he smiled. "Am I lying to you? You're not that strong to me." Feng Baishue was now completely convinced, and she did not have any objections. She nodded and admitted, "You're indeed very strong, even stronger than me. Bloodlines are not something that I can touch, and I'm indeed inferior to you." Zhao Fu lightly laughed. "You're quite tactful." Feng Baishue looked at Zhao Fu, and she asked nervously, "How do you plan to deal with me now?" Zhao Fu smiled and asked, "How do you want me to deal with you?" Feng Baishue replied, "I respect existences of your level. I was wrong this time, and I sincerely apologize to you. I hope you can forgive me." It was extremely rare for Feng Baishue to say such words, and with her personality, she would never say such a thing. Zhao Fu thought for a while, and he did not want to make a big deal out of this. After all, he still needed to participate in the upcoming competition and obtain the Empyrean Demon Horse Stone. "I'll plant a restriction in your bodies so that you won't be able to talk about what happened. After that, you can leave. If you're not willing, I'll kill you right now." Everyone felt quite shocked. With Feng Baishue's terrifying identity, almost no one would dare to kill her so casually. Her identity was simply too terrifying. Feng Baishue fell into deep thought. If news of her opponent possessing such a terrifying bloodline was leaked, it would definitely shake the entire Devil Domain. After all, no one had ever seen such a terrifying dragon clan's supreme bloodline. He did not want to make a big deal out of this, so he wanted them to hide this information. She could accept this, as it was better than being killed by him. If she was killed by such a terrifying person, even her clan would not dare to take revenge. Feng Baishue nodded and said, "I agree." The others did not have any objections. Even someone as prestigious as Feng Baishue had agreed, so how could they have any objections? Zhao Fu waved his hand, and rays of black light shot towards Feng Baishua's body, turning into countless restrictions that spread out and covered their bodies. Chapter 2488. The rays of black light entered their bodies, causing everyone's hearts to tremble. That power was something that they could not even imagine. The other party's bloodline was so terrifying, and his power was similarly terrifying. Now they were even more nervous and fearful of Zhao Fu, and their hearts were filled with a sense of inferiority. Zhao Fu turned to look at Long Qingqing's group. Long Qingqing understood that Zhao Fu didn't want them to leak his information. If his information was leaked, all the revered dragons in the Dragon Sovereign Palace would be looking for him. The entire dragon tribe would be in an uproar over this. Thus, he took the initiative and said, "Supreme Dragon, please place a restriction on our bodies so that we won't leak out any information." A trace of a smile appeared on Zhao Fu's face, and he also waved his hand, causing black rays of light to shoot into the bodies of those people. The people of the Dragon Clan also revealed shocked expressions. They were shocked by how terrifying Zhao Fu's strength was. They would never be able to break free from such a restriction in their entire lives. Evil 9 looked at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu gave her a familiar feeling. But she couldn't remember who it was. Now that Zhao Fu had planted restrictions in their bodies, everyone felt much more relaxed because this meant that Zhao Fu would not kill them. Zhao Fu's lips curled up as he walked towards Long Qingqing and the rest. Long Qingqing and the others thought back to what Zhao Fu had said before, that one of them was his friend. Just who was it that had such a terrifying existence as a friend? They felt incredibly envious. Feng Baishue and the others were also very curious about who Zhao Fu's friend was. When Long Qingqing saw Zhao Fu walk towards them, she became extremely nervous and her heartbeat quickened. Finally, Zhao Fu came in front of Evil 9 and said with a smile, "I haven't seen you in more than 10 years. Don't you recognize me now?" Everyone was surprised. They hadn't expected Zhao Fu's friend to be Evil 9. The other dragon race youths started to feel afraid. They had never thought that Evil 9 would have such a terrifying friend. They had even spoken to Evil 9 like that. Long Qingqing did not expect Evil 9 to befriend a dragon clan supremacy. She had never heard Evil 9 mention it before. Logically speaking, there was no way Evil 9 wouldn't tell her that he had such a terrifying friend. Evil 9 looked at Zhao Fu, and the more he looked at Zhao Fu, the more familiar he felt. However, when he thought about how this had happened over 10 years ago, Evil 9 suddenly thought of something. More than 10 years ago, she was still in a new world and did not come to the demon realm. In that new world, she did not have many friends, only a few, and one of them was like the person in front of her. Evil 9 understood Zhao Fu's identity and happily leaped into Zhao Fu's arms. "Zhao Fu, why are you here? I'm so happy to see you." Everyone looked surprised. They hadn't expected Evil 9 to know Zhao Fu, and they seemed to have a good relationship. He even knew a lot about him, such as Zhao Fu's name. Zhao Fu hugged Evil 9 and said with a smile, "Really? If I didn't tell you, you wouldn't have recognized me." Evil 9 said embarrassedly, "I never thought that I would meet you here. You've changed too much over the years, and your aura and voice are completely different, so I didn't recognize you." No one would have thought that a person who had only entered the Heaven-Awakened world for 10 or so years would cause such a stir. Zhao Fu looked around and smiled as he said, "Come with me, I have some things to talk to you about." Evil 9 happily nodded and hugged Zhao Fu. She did not know what power Zhao Fu had that attracted her to him. Zhao Fu hugged Evil 9 and wanted to go back to the room and talk to Evil 9 about the things that had happened over the years. The remaining people awkwardly stood there because they were not Zhao Fu's friends and did not attract Zhao Fu's attention. However, they were all quite curious about Zhao Fu's identity. Long Qingqing understood that this matter was incredibly important to the dragon race, and as a member of the dragon race, she could not just ignore this. Even if it was not for the dragon race, she had to think about her family. She wanted to obtain some information about Zhao Fu. Joer, I also want to get to know a friend like you. Evil 9 turned to look at Long Qingqing and understood her intentions. He did not refuse because Long Qingqing treated him very well and was his favorite big sister. Zhao Fu, big sister Qing, can you come with us? Can big sister Qing come with us? She is also very curious about you. Hearing this, Zhao Fu looked at Long Qingqing and did not mind. He smiled and nodded, saying, "No problem." Long Qingqing felt quite delighted and said respectfully, "Thank you, Lord Dragon Sovereign." Feng Baixue understood Long Qingqing's goal. The dragon race was the phoenix race's greatest enemy, and now that such a terrifying person had appeared in the dragon race, she wanted to obtain information about Zhao Fu. This would be incredibly useful in the future. If such a terrifying person ruled over the dragon race, it was possible that he could destroy the entire phoenix race. This matter was simply too important and concerned the survival of the phoenix race. Sir, I greatly admire you and want to get to know you. I admire you very much and want to know more about you. I wonder if you can give me a chance? Zhao Fu turned to look at Feng Baixue and smiled as he said, "If you want to come, then come. However, let me warn you not to regret it." Feng Baixue felt quite delighted and felt that Zhao Fu would not kill them. At most, he would place a few restrictions in their bodies to prevent them from divulging this information, so she nodded and said, "Mm." Everyone felt quite happy. They were all quite curious about Zhao Fu's identity and hoped to have some sort of connection with such a terrifying person. This meant that they would be able to ascend to the heavens in a single step, so they all followed Zhao Fu. After coming to the room, the sheep-headed young man looked quite surprised. He had never thought that Zhao Fu would bring so many people. Moreover, there were two terrifying people. One was Long Qingqing and the other was Feng Baixue. They were both strong competitors in this dueling competition, so how could Zhao Fu bring them here? The dragon race and phoenix race were enemies, and it was very difficult for them to get along. However, it seemed that they were very respectful towards that person and did not seem hostile at all. Could it be that that person's identity was not simple? This was the only explanation. The sheep-headed young man became even more respectful and called for people to serve more tea, snacks, and spirit fruits to Zhao Fu and the others. After coming to the room, Evil 9 asked curiously, Zhao Fu, hurry and tell me why you've changed so much over the past 10 or so years. Also, how did you become the sovereign of the dragon race? You possess such terrifying power. I underestimated you back then." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "I'll tell you about these things later. First, tell me what you've experienced over the past few years, why you're here, and why you suddenly disappeared back then." Evil 9 happily nodded and started to talk about what had happened in the past 10 or so years. He answered some of the questions that had been bothering Zhao Fu for a long time. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.